Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault. And you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom. The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case.
Literally not true.
Dati hindi Anglican, boy.
Is that correct?
I didn't ask you to interrupt me. Oh, for Trump's sake.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Happy Tuesday. Yep, it's Tuesday. Just verifying. At least my phone says it's Tuesday, so if it's wrong, I'm also wrong. Oh, let's see. Welcome. Congratulations, Lena H. First in chat today. Congratulations. Lena, we're going to thank you. We're going to thank you for being first in chat by punishing you and give you the internet. Yep, we're giving you the entire internet. Not really, it's not like a monetary gain for you. Really, it's just an increased workload because you have to maintain the whole thing today. That's pretty much all you get to do. So your day is going to be full. Our day will be great because we're not maintaining the internet. It's all you. Lena, congratulations. We'll also put this down on your permanent record. I'm feeling a little better. Yes, I am. Fewer cough drops. I've only had 2 cough drops this morning instead of a bag of cough drops. And got some good sleep last night. So that's good. It's a win-win, which is great because, tomorrow I've got to do a yell and my voice has to be back 100% for that one. Welcome. We are going to quickly get through what we need to do this morning because, let's see, Master Ayden, my birthday is officially tomorrow. That's awesome. We have to get through what we need to do quickly, which is a birthday celebration. And let me just say, Sharon doesn't get the credit that she deserves for this, but day in and day out, tracking everyone's birthdays and making it available all in a nice form for us. Sharon, thank you. This means so much to so many people, and you have made it all possible. I have the easy part. I just hit the button and sing the song, and you do all the work. So Sharon, thank you very much for the great work you do there. Sharon is the best. Yes, you're right. We have amazing mods. We really do. Just incredible. So grateful for all of them. All right. Let's see. She's the birthday rock star. All right. We have trial starting a little bit. This afternoon, we're going to probably jump to a little trial.
Is that correct?
Or a little segment that Josh sent us yet last night. But this morning, we have a short day in court, which is going to start here in a little bit. So this morning, we're going to do that. Then we're going to, at lunchtime, they're going to be done. We're going to do that little ditty. And then we're actually going to call it probably a short day today because today my family's going to the Chinese Lantern Festival, which I just learned has nothing to do with Chinese lanterns, apparently. Which I think it was bait and switch. But apparently the Chinese Lantern Festival does not have any Chinese lanterns. I'm not sure why we do it at night. But yeah. Why can't we have Chinese lanterns? I think it's a ripoff. I do. I'm hoping that I can at least buy one there and bring it home and set it off myself. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's probably going to be amazing, and I'll just won't be able to talk enough about it throughout the rest of the week. But fire hazard. It's going to be raining today. I mean, this is the day to do it. Nothing burns when it rains, right? At least not in North Carolina. All right, we have a couple birthdays to celebrate. Thank you very much, Sharon, for that. We have Magistra and Elijah celebrating their birthdays today. We're going to sing to both of them. If you guys will join me by standing up, shoulders back, deep breath. Project your voice to the back of the room. Blend your voice with your neighbors. Warm up with me, if you will. La 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 la. Is Samantha as well? going to add Samantha on there, Alita. That's all right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Magistra, Elijah, and Samantha. Happy birthday to you. Magistra, Elijah, Samantha, happy birthday. This is your special day. We have a lot of special days, but this one's yours. And we're excited to be able to celebrate with you. There are a million people you could have been with, a million places you could have gone, but here you are celebrating with us. The privilege and pleasure is all ours. Hopefully we can make your day a little specialer. And we have to do it quickly because court is about to start. So, well, happy birthday. Help yourself to free pancakes at Denny's, Waffle House, IHOP, Village Inn, Denny's. I said Denny's already. Go to Denny's twice. Two different Denny's. You should be able to get 2 stacks. Happy birthday to everyone who is celebrating. Oh, happy birthday to Gracefully Broken Mom's Baby, too. Happy birthday, Gracefully Broken Mom's Baby. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to all of y'all. Thank you for letting us celebrate your birthday. Denny's is down 44% year to date, says Greeners. We're doing our part. The idea is that if you go to Denny's and get free pancakes, you take people with you and they buy food. So it's a net win for the company, I would think. That's awesome. That was Elijah. Oh, Elijah is the baby. Wonderful. We got him twice then. Happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating. It's the best way to start the day by singing to somebody else and wishing them a happy birthday. So glad you guys got in on that with us. I think we've got one more verse here, and then we've got a drum solo to finish. No Denny's in my town, says Shark. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go. I'm feeling it. I saw an auction for some kettle drums, and I wanted to buy it. By the way, here we go. Beautiful. It was beautiful, fantastic. All of y'all, thanks for helping us out this morning, getting the day started off right. And happy birthday to those who are celebrating. To be fair, Real Lantern Festival in China isn't until February. Well, now you're just yanking the rug out from under me. I'm pretty soon I'm just going to go and I'm going to find out it's like a horse show. Which, I mean, I've been to a horse show before. They're pretty cool. But if I go somewhere and it says Chinese Lantern Festival and I get there and it's a rodeo, I like rodeos, but I will be disappointed. I'll be very disappointed. So we're going to see. You are most welcome, not mostly welcome, most welcome, Gracefully Broken Mom. Glad we could sing to your little one. Congratulations to you and your little one. Elijah. All right. Take your torch and a pitchfork and some tar. Yes, and feathers. I'll come prepared. Oh.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
You look good.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate that. All right, we are about to start today. It's going to be an early day today, and honestly, we're nearing the end of the case. So the judge said they could be done by Wednesday. I'm not sure if he meant done both sides by Wednesday, so we could have the state finishing today. This occurred to me this morning. Let's see. Is this what I need to click on? Or was the buffer? I didn't see where. Is there a buffer in there somewhere? Oh, yes, it's at the end. Trial court superlatives and awards. I don't know what superlatives. Amber, it reminds me of another word that starts like that, and it's a topic that's reserved for like the podcast. What is a superlative? Dare I ask Siri? Means the best of. Better than Siri. Red pen came with the definition before I had asked. It means the best of. Okay, so the best of awards, which is what she meant right there. The best of awards nominations are due on the 23rd, which is 2 days before Christmas. You may submit as many suggestions as long as you fill out the entire form. Forms that are not filled out completely will be destroyed, and the submitter will be punished. Will be punished. So there we go. It's It's not a rodeo. It's one of the most amazing, beautiful things I ever saw. Okay, well, I'm hoping so, but let me just say, don't call it a Chinese Lantern Festival if they don't have Chinese lanterns. Call it anything else, but I am expecting like a flood of lanterns rising into the sky in the dark of night, twinkling candles, everything. That's what I'm expecting. So it's got to be better than that, because that's how you sold it. All right, I haven't been keeping up with this case. Are we on defense case yet? No. Officially, the defense has not yet come out and said it was self-defense, which is what they are going to say. What they have said is, yep, he shot her. He shot her. He did. And we've gone over the facts of the case, and it looks like Joseph shot Emily as she slept in their converted minibus camper by putting a couch pillow over her head and putting a gun with a silencer on it to the pillow and firing twice, 2 shots, killing her. And then he proceeded to dismember her body some 15 hours later and confessed to everything to the police and to a friend. And now he says it's self-defense, which was not included in any of the confessions, in any at all. Motive, he says that she just kept getting on him, just like constantly, giving him grief. And he figured out that it was never going to end unless he ended it. And so he did. Oh, the zoom, that's the, we're about to begin. We're about to begin. That's the cue. There will be bigger, they will be bigger than buildings and lit up. Took us several hours to see the whole thing. Ooh. That's incredible. Do they have lanterns? The word is nagging. Okay, so yeah, I don't think he used that word. He used some other words, but I think that does get the message across. They did this. He did this as they were on a trip celebrating their 1-year wedding anniversary. Okay, the zoom button works. The zoom button is working. We've got it. We are seeing the zoom in and zoom out. Got it. Apparently, they pulled into the place in Vermont, and she just started going off on him about, you're terrible. This is terrible. I hate this place. I hate you and your family and everything else, and your dog. And he just said, enough is enough. But in his self-defense claim, he says that he was actually attacked. That he was physically attacked. She hit him with a Yankee candle, which I've learned is a candle in a glass jar, which might as well be a club. They're quite heavy and quite hard. But he says he was getting beat with that, and that he got kicked or elbowed or kneed in the groin, and hit about the face and shoulders. And in this, as all this is happening, as he's just getting wailed on, he notices that she is reaching for the gun that she keeps under her pillow, because that's where they keep their guns. And lucky for him, fortunate for Joseph, he happened to already have a Glock in his hand, and he was able to defensively fire first with the silencer through the pillow. I'm just not sure if I'm buying that story at all. So looks like we're here. Let's kick it off. Oh no, we're waiting for the defendant right now. I think they might bring him out.
Will there be any issues to discuss before we bring in the jury?
I don't believe so. No.
Chicago sings a song about, and we both reached for the gun. What song is that? I mean, I think I know a couple Chicago songs. Defensive first through the pillow, yes. Well, there are a couple things that say it wasn't self-defense. The fact that she was sleeping. We're probably going to hear from the ME the trajectory of the bullets, the entry points, and I'm guessing it's not forehead. I'm guessing it's the side of the head. I don't know. I don't think she was even looking at him. I don't think she had any idea. Big Sky, the package was delivered yesterday. No more T-Day mistakes. Okay, I will check it out. It's unfathomable to me that this case includes a silencer. It does. They found a silencer when they had searched his van. They actually found everything. They found the saw. They found her body. They found several other guns, 3 long guns, a shotgun, 2 rifles, another pistol. They found it all. The Swiffer that he used to clean up the shower. The saw had her DNA. We haven't heard DNA reports on anything. Some things got sent out to be tested. The irony of the silencer in this loud courtroom. Yeah, this courtroom's terrible for audio. In the light of the day and the dark of the night, 2 dead men got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other, drew their swords, and shot each other. I always heard they ended with the deaf policeman heard the noise and came to see what it was all about. If you don't believe the story is true, go ask the blind man. He saw it too. Something like that. That's what I remember from kids. Was that a song? I just thought it was like a grade school thing we say in the playground. And there he is. There's our defendant. With some very casual bailiffs. With festive tie there. Looks good. So we turn the mics on.
State versus Joseph Ferlazzo Jr., 21 CR 8967. Mr. Ferlazzo is present with his attorneys, Ms. Jantz and Ms. Johnson. The state is present with Ms. George and Ms. Adams. We're here. We're going to bring in the jury in a moment. I've heard from the parties there are no issues to discuss before we bring in the jury, so we're in the process of doing so.
Judge is pretty laid back. That is his fast-speaking voice right there. The banging and fireworks you hear will continue throughout this trial. I wish I could turn it off. I cannot. Only a half day today. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, Thomas. Oh, I'm sorry. Definitely. Thomas is asking for prayers for his cousin. Anyone who's able to, please. He was in a wreck last night. It's an ICU with a broken spinal collapse.
Please be seated. All 16 members of the jury are present. I first want to thank you all for being so prompt. I understand everybody was here no later than 8:25, and it's really helpful, and I'm glad we're able to start relatively on time. I'll ask you the usual questions. Did anyone learn anything about this case since last departing court yesterday from any outside source? Did anybody discuss this case with anybody since we were last together yesterday? And again, is there any reason any one of you cannot be a fair and impartial juror in this case moving forward? As to all 3 questions, I'm seeing only shakes of the head no. We will resume now in the matter of State versus Joseph Ferlazzo Jr. Is the state ready to call its next witness?
We are, Your Honor. The state would call Detective Sergeant Aaron McNeil.
Raise your right hand. Do solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the these, Mr. Archie?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are learning that the acoustics are not great in this room, so try to keep your voice up and speak into the mic so the back jurors can hear you.
Okay.
Can you start by just stating your name and spelling both your first and last name?
Yep, my name is Aaron McNeil, and Aaron is A-R-O-N, and last name is McNeil, which is M-C-N-E-I-L.
Okay. And how are you employed?
I'm employed by the Vermont State Police.
Okay. And how long have you been with the Vermont State Police?
Just about 16 years.
Okay. So you were employed by them in October of 2021?
I was.
Okay. And what was your rank at the time?
In October of 2021, my rank was Detective Sergeant.
Okay. And what were your assignments?
My assignment is commander of our crime scene search team for the Major Crime Unit.
Okay. The jury heard from Amy Nolan yesterday. Is that the same? Is it the same role or assignment that she was doing in the
At that time, she was the assistant team commander for crime scene.
Okay, great. How long at that point had you been a member of the crime scene search team?
At that point, I was a member of the team for approximately 7 years.
Okay. And approximately how many major crime scene investigations have you participated in?
As of today, approximately 222 major crime scenes.
Okay. In mid-October of 2021, were you made aware of an investigation related to Emily Ferlazzo?
I was.
And what information were you initially provided?
Initially, I was advised that she was a missing person and that several vehicles had been seized as a result of the initial investigation. And at that point, crime scene was asked to process several vehicles.
Okay. And is that the point where you became involved?
It is.
And when did that initial involvement occur?
That would have been October 19th of 2021.
Okay. Did you, on October 19th, did you enter the van as part of that processing?
Not on the 19th.
Okay. And what task were you assigned then?
On October 19th, I was assigned to process a red Jeep that had been seized as a result of the initial investigation.
Okay. And what was the authority for entering that Jeep?
I was provided with a search warrant to process that Jeep.
Okay. Judge, the state moves to admit 92 through 103, I believe, with no objection.
Any objection?
No objection. Thank you.
92 through 103, you said?
Yes.
92 through 103 are
I
admitted.
think his cell phone was in the Jeep. He went to go get it so he could go dispose of the body.
Detective, have you already reviewed all of these photos that we're about to go through?
I believe I have, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start with States 92. Can you tell the jury what that is a photo of?
That was the Jeep that was processed on October 19th, 2021.
Okay. Before you started the search,
No
did you
ducks.
verify that this was the Jeep
Yes,
the
I had a
warrant was
copy.
for?
I
So
did. I
nice
had a
Jeep.
copy of the warrant, and I made sure that the make, model, and the registration plate was the correct vehicle.
Okay. And what were you specifically searching the Jeep for?
We just got started.
The search specifically was related to any of the items listed that ordered us to search for inside of the Jeep, specifically cellular devices, possible human remains. There was a list of things that were listed on the warrant.
It's a Jeep
Any
Commander,
weapons?
right?
Yes.
Okay. And so at the time the search warrant was granted, had Emily's body not been located?
I was aware that likely human remains had been found in a van that was also being processed at the same time at the same facility, but I was not certain whose remains they were or for sure if they were human yet at that point.
Okay. What items of importance did you seize from the van? I'm sorry, from the Jeep.
From the Jeep, there was a Smith & Wesson brand knife inside of a sheath that I found inside the driver's door. And there was also a cellular telephone that was in the center console of the Jeep.
Show you what's been marked as States 93. Can you tell us what this is?
This is a photo of the cellular telephone that's in the center console prior to collection.
Okay. And States 94.
That's with the screen activated or the screen turned on is a picture that crime scene took of the phone that night.
Okay. I see part of a 2 up in the corner. Was this labeled as Jeep number 2?
It was.
Okay. Is there any other number associated with this piece of evidence?
There is. There could be several numbers, but I'm specifically aware that this is listed as item number 14 in our software database.
This happened, I think, once yesterday with Detective Nolan. Can you explain to the jury why one piece of evidence might have 2 numbers?
Sure.
Or multiple numbers?
So, State Police, we have a software database that keeps track of all evidence collected or all items collected by the State Police. It's called File on Queue. And File on Queue assigns a number and a barcode to every piece of evidence that we collect that's individualized. What happens for crime scene processing in cases like this is there'll be several different portions of the scene. There may be an actual crime scene, there may be a vehicle, there's an autopsy, and at each of those events, the evidence number starts over at 1. So there may be the first item collected at the autopsy may be labeled, medical examiner item number 1. The first item in the Jeep will be Jeep number 1, and the van would be number 1. And then File on Queue, when those items are put into the database under the same case number, it'll give it one mastered number. So it makes it easy so we can have one number assigned to that piece of evidence for reference purposes, but also I can reference it for days like today in court for juries like yourselves.
Okay, thank you. So this item, once it was put into the master list, was labeled item 14?
That is correct.
Okay, and that's the phone that you found in Mr. Ferlazzo's Jeep?
Yes.
Okay. I'll show you what States 95. Can you tell us what that is?
States 95 is the registration card that was found inside of the Jeep, indicating that the Jeep was registered to a Joseph Ferlazzo. It also includes the registration plate and VIN number and other information.
Okay. And so is that further confirmation that this Jeep you were searching belonged to Mr. Ferlazzo?
Yes.
Okay. And was the iPhone that you located brought back to VSP for processing?
It was.
Okay.
And it's got Journey Greatest Hits.
Was that the entirety of your involvement on October 19th?
Not entirely. After we processed the Jeep, I assisted Sergeant Nolan with some evidence packaging and also entering items into the software database.
Okay. And did you have further involvement in the case the next day on the 20th?
I did.
Balm.
Okay. And how did that come about? What did you do on the 20th?
The crime scene team, we did not finish processing the van on the first night on the 19th. We wanted to return. We had more work to do on the day or the next day during the 20th. Plus, we wanted to do more work during the daylight hours. So I returned to process the van to assist with processing the van on the 20th.
Okay. And when you arrived, was the van secured with evidence tape?
It was.
Okay. And so did you take that off in order to re-enter the van?
We did.
Okay. While continuing the search of the van, did you hear from Detective Nolan?
I did. She contacted me.
And where was she at the time she contacted you?
At the time she contacted me, she was at the medical examiner's office at the autopsy.
Okay. And did she ask you to search the van for something specific?
She did.
What did she tell you to search for?
She advised me that during autopsy, Emily's body was found to have numerous stab wounds. So she asked us to further look during processing for any sharp objects or knives inside of the van.
Okay. I'm going to show you States 96. Can you just tell the jury what this is showing?
This is a photo taken by the crime scene team inside of the van that shows a block of knives.
Okay. And did you collect these knives?
We did.
Just kitchen knives, a kitchen block.
Is this just a close-up, States 97, just a close-up of the same block?
It is.
And a bong. There was a bong in the corner as well.
States 98 is a crime scene photo of item number 44 collected from the van itself.
Okay. And did you notice anything of interest on this knife?
I did. During the collection of several of these knives, we noticed that there's reddish-brown stains on the knives.
Okay. States 45.
States 45 is another knife taken out of the block from the van.
And if you, was a swab of the reddish-brown stains on these knives collected?
There was.
Okay. And so on states 44, was that swab labeled as 44B?
It would have been, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then on 45, was that swab labeled as 45B?
It was.
Okay. States 100, can you tell the jury what this is?
States 100 is an image of the knife blade with the reddish-brown stains I was speaking of.
Okay. And so this is an example of what you would have swabbed and sent to the lab?
Correct, yes.
States 46?
It's an additional knife from the knife block.
And so the swab from this knife would have been labeled 46B?
That is correct.
Just so we're clear, that was States 101, though?
Yes, Judge, thank you. States 102?
That would be crime scene item number 49 from the van.
And again, the swab then from this item would have been 49B?
That is correct.
And States 103?
States 103 is, again, crime scene number 50 from the van, which is a pair of scissors.
And the swab of a reddish-brown stain on these scissors would have been labeled as 50B?
That is correct.
Okay. And were all of these swabs sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab for testing?
They were.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions, Judge.
Use the entire knife block? I mean, like all the tools?
Thank you. Thank you.
Defense? Do they have any questions on defense? Yvette, this courtroom is just terrible. It's just noise. It's right at the noise threshold for the noise
Your Honor,
gate.
the state calls Harry Jeffy.
Carrie Jeffy, next witness.
Solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give relative to the trial felony
This is me making it quiet.
shall be the whole
I
truth
could turn it
and
back
nothing but the truth under the pain and
to this. This is the quiet version.
Good morning. Can you please state your name and spell your last name, please?
My name is Harry Jeppe, J-E-P-P-E.
And Mr. Jeppe, how are you employed?
I am the physical comparison unit supervisor at the Vermont Forensic Laboratory. As such, I am a qualified firearm and tool mark examiner.
Laboratory.
Where is the Vermont Forensic Laboratory located?
The Vermont Forensic Laboratory is located at 45 State Street in Waterbury, Vermont.
When did you start employment with the Vermont Forensic Laboratory?
On the 1st of April, 2004.
And have you been in the same role since you started 20 years ago?
No, I started as a firearm and
I just messed everything up and I don't know what I did.
I was promoted to
really
the supervisory position.
You guys, this is trippy. I have no idea what I just did.
Harry, H-A-R-R-Y.
Thank you.
Thank you. Generally speaking, what do firearms examiners do?
We examine every item of evidence related to firearms. With other words, firearms, obviously, fired cartridge components, which include cartridge cases, fired bullets, unfired cartridges.
That was weird.
Firearms magazines. We also do tool marks, where we compare submitted tools to, for example, locks or padlocks or anything that was used, any implement that was used to break into a home, a screwdriver, for example, used to pry open a window and so on. Those are all considered to be tool marks. We also do chemical distance determinations based on propellant residue, firearms propellant residue. We do serial number restorations, and yeah, that's pretty much covers it.
What's your educational
That was
background?
my glamour shot.
I have a diploma in forensic or in policing from the Technikon of South Africa. I also have a Bachelor of Technology degree from the University of South Africa in policing. I have an advanced certificate in forensic criminalistics, which is a 2-year study program, which I did through the University of South Africa, and it basically I majored in forensic ballistics. I also did a 3-year training program through the South African Police Service Forensic Ballistics Unit in Cape Town in South Africa.
This might be a hard question to answer, but how many comparisons would you estimate that you have made to determine whether a particular bullet or cartridge case was fired from a particular weapon?
Literally thousands. If we're not talking about cases, I've been doing this since 1998, and I have not only looked at my own cases, but I've also done technical reviews. We have a mandated system of technical review in our laboratory where every comparison that is performed by an analyst is then sort of technical reviewed or verified by a second analyst. So in that sense, I have literally looked at thousands.
Have you testified in Vermont courts in the past?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
More than 40 times.
Have you been previously qualified as an expert, as a subject matter expert?
Yes, I have.
And what's the expertise?
Firearm and tool mark examination.
Your Honor, the state would move to qualify Mr. Jeppe as an expert in firearms and tool mark examinations.
I have no objection, Judge.
It's necessary, but
it's not necessary, but I have no objection.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you some questions about general testing procedures. Can you explain to the jury what forensic firearms identification is?
Sure. So a firearms examination, specifically as it relates to the case in question, involves a firearm that is examined to determine if it's in working condition. The firearm is then test fired. Those test standards which we generate in the laboratory, with other words, the cartridges that we fire in that firearm in the laboratory, we use those, or we consider those to be our known standards. With other words, those are, we can relate to the firearm because we know the base truth that those came from the firearm. Those we use for comparison purposes, and obviously anything else that's submitted, like in this case, for example, we had cartridge cases and bullets submitted. We would take those cartridge cases and those bullets, and we would physically compare them to the known standards to determine if they were fired from the same firearm.
And what makes such an identification possible?
When you're looking at fire ignition components, those components will show striated markings or scratch marks, basically, which are the result of the components being in direct contact with any surface inside the firearm during the firing process. So any feature that is latent, whether it's present on the firearm but not necessarily visible by, through the naked eye, is transferred onto the fired components during the firing process. Obviously, when you discharge a firearm, there's a lot of energy that's generated. There's a lot of pressure. The pressure causes expansion of the cartridge case. That's basically what eventually projects the bullet through the barrel. That interaction between the cartridge case and the bullet, in other words, the container for the propellant and the projectile, that is basically the interaction between those components with the firearm, which at that time the firearm transfers those markings, or the markings are transferred through that interaction onto the bullets and the cartridge cases. By then looking at those scratch marks and the uniqueness of those scratch marks, we can determine, first of all, whether class characteristics are consistent, and secondly, whether individual characteristics are consistent between the fired components and the firearm.
Is this type of identification generally accepted as reliable in the field?
Yes, it is.
When a firearm is used, does it leave markings on a cartridge case?
Yes, it does.
What about the copper jacketing of a bullet?
The copper jacket on a bullet will be marked by the interior surface of the barrel of the firearm, yes.
And what about the lead core that's encapsulated in the copper jacket?
A lead core is generally not in contact with the firearm because it's encapsulated in the jacket, and therefore it is generally not of value for comparison purposes.
So you mentioned this already, but can you explain to the jury what class characteristics are?
Class characteristics are features that are predetermined during the manufacturing process. So the manufacturer decides how the different components of the firearm are going to relate to each other. With other words, the relative shape of the firing pin, for example, the relative shape of the aperture of the firing pin, with other words, where the firing pin protrudes inside the firearm. The location of different components on the firearm, like the ejector and the extractor on the firearm. Also, the machining method used by the manufacturer. Some firearms are manufactured using milling cutters. Some are used through, or are manufactured by using electrochemical methods. Some are hand finished with files, etc. So those are all determined by the manufacturer. When you're looking at a barrel, every barrel has a series of spiraling grooves cut into the barrel. Those grooves are essentially intended to cause the bullet to spin while it's traveling through the air. You want that gyrating motion basically to stabilize the bullet in flight. Those grooves are the width
see if I can fix
those
this audio.
grooves, the
It's really bad.
direction of, or the orientation of the twist of the grooves. Manufacturer. And they are standard not just to one firearm, but to every other firearm that's made to that same specification. Those are what we refer to as class characteristics. Milling cutters.
And can you explain to a jury what you mean when you talk about individual characteristics?
Individual characteristics are those characteristics that are unique to a specific firearm. That uniqueness is normally found in wear and tear of tooling that's used to manufacture the firearm.
It's like
also,
seconds off.
Any wear and tear that the firearm sort of incurs, or as the firearm evolves through lack of cleaning or improper cleaning methods, corrosion, erosion. As the firearm's fired, the heat and gases generated by the cartridges inside the firearm also tend to cause a certain degree of corrosion, which adds to the uniqueness of the firearm.
Wow.
So yes, those are features that are unique to that specific firearm and normally develop as the firearm is used.
So you talked about your process and getting a known standard. Can you explain to the jury?
That are unique to a specific firearm. That uniqueness is normally found in wear and tear of tooling that's used to manufacture the firearm. Also, any wear and tear that the firearm sort of incurs, or as the firearm evolves through lack of cleaning or improper cleaning methods, corrosion, erosion. As the firearm's fired, the heat and gases generated by the cartridges inside the firearm also tend to cause a certain degree of corrosion, which add to the uniqueness of the firearm. So yes, those are features that are unique to that specific firearm and normally develop as the firearm is used.
So you talked about your process and getting a known standard. Can you explain to the jury what that looks like at the lab?
So in the laboratory, we have a
I like how he says laboratory.
Of ammunition, different types of ammunition, different calibers, different configurations. When a firearm is submitted for comparison, we would literally take and standard in accordance with our procedure, we would start with 2 test-fired samples. We would take 2 cartridges from our collection or our stock of ammunition in the laboratory, mark those with the last 3 digits of the serial number of the firearm, and then proceed to discharge the firearm and basically test fire it into a bullet recovery trap, which is essentially just a large tank of water.
And then once you get the known standard, can you explain to the jury how you compare that? What tools you use to compare it?
So we use a comparison microscope to do a direct physical comparison between the fired item, or the test fired item rather, and the unknown or the questioned item. A comparison microscope is essentially 2 stereo microscopes, which are connected through an optical bridge. This allows you to view both stages of the microscope at the same time. And you can basically, when you're looking through this microscope and you have the 2 items on the 2 stages, you're able to see the 2 items right next to each other. You're able to superimpose those items and view essentially all the relevant markings on the firearm, manipulate the different items in order to line up markings and to inspect if there's a visual correlation between different markings. And this is essentially how we do the comparison.
So in this case, were you asked to work on a case from the Vermont State Police involving the death of Emily Ferlazzo?
Yes, I did.
And what items did you receive from the Vermont State Police?
I received a 9mm caliber Glock Model 19 pistol with an aftermarket Silencer Co.
With Silencer Co. I called it.
Conventional rifling. I also received a Silencer Co. silencer, which was compatible with the firearm. I received a bullet jacket, a fired bullet jacket. I received a bullet core, a fired bullet, and a magazine, and several cartridges.
Your Honor, I now would ask the court to read stipulation number 9, which is State's Exhibit 124.
Any objections?
No objection, Judge.
This one's a long one.
Oh, we got a long one. Here we go.
Stipulation number 9, members of the jury, the state and defendant, Joseph Ferlazzo, have agreed that you may find certain facts. It's called a stipulation. A partial projectile was collected from bag number 4 on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during Anthony Ferlazzo's autopsy at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. This partial projectile was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This partial projectile was analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from bag number 4 on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 30/OCME number 4A. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A2. Chain of custody of the partial projectile is not being challenged. A Glock 19 firearm was collected on October 19, 2021 by the Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. The firearm was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This firearm was analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when collected from the camper during the search on October 19, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 48/CSST ban number 11. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A3. Chain of custody of the Glock 19 firearm is not being challenged. A magazine and 10 rounds of ammunition were collected on October 19, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. The magazine and ammunition were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. The magazine and ammunition were analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when collected from the camper during the search on October 19, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 53/CSST ban number 11A. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A5. Chain of custody of the magazine and ammunition is not being challenged. A projectile was collected from inside a large pillow, parentheses in the pillowcase, end of parentheses, from bag number 2 on October 20th, 2021 by the Vermont State Police during Emily Ferlazzo's autopsy at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. This projectile was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This projectile was analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from bag number 2 on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 61/OCME number 2A. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A7. Chain of custody of the projectile is not being challenged. A projectile was collected from inside a large pillow, parentheses in the pillow, end of parentheses, from bag number 2 on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during Emily Ferlazzo's autopsy at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. This projectile was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This projectile was analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from bag number 2 on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 62/OCME number 2B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number 88. Chain of custody of the projectile is not being challenged. A cartridge casing was collected from bag number 2 on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during Emily Ferlazzo's autopsy at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. This cartridge casing was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This cartridge casing was analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from bag number 2 on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 63/OCME number 2C. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A9. Chain of custody of the cartridge casing is not being challenged. A silencer was collected on October 19th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. The silencer was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. The silencer was analyzed by Harry Jeppe at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when collected from the camper during the search on October 19th, 2021.
Believe it or not, this is saving a lot of time.
This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 85/CSST, ban number 22. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number 811. Chain of custody of the silencer is not being challenged. As with any evidence in this trial, you must decide what weight you will give this stipulation that states Exhibit 124 is admitted in evidence.
That stipulation, we see these stipulations a lot in self-defense type cases where the facts of the case are not challenged. If it was a complete challenge that I didn't do it, there would be very few stipulations. But he's saying he did do it, it's just, it was done in self-defense.
I'm telling you what's been marked and admitted as states 79. Do you know what state 79 is?
That is correct. This is a gun box. I noticed my initials on the seals on this box. So this is the gun box that I received evidence in on this case.
And can you explain to the jury what you did as part of your examination of the firearm?
So, first of all, when we receive the evidence, we would typically open the box. The box would be sealed by our client agency, in this case, State Police. We would open the seals, open the box, and the evidence would then be packaged normally as it is here with zip tied down to the inside of the box in order to prevent it from moving around.
And were you able to tell from this firearm what the make is?
Yes. After unpacking the firearm, I would generally photograph the firearm as a first step. I would then proceed with checking the serial number of the firearm against the submission form to ensure that the firearm that I received is indeed consistent with what was submitted by the client agency. I would then proceed to record all the unique details pertaining to the firearm. That is the make, the model, the serial number, the type of magazine, the safety systems on the firearm. I would check the safety systems in order to ensure that if they in a functional condition. I would then proceed with checking the barrel to see that there are no obstructions in the barrel prior to test firing. At that time, I would also determine the direction of twist of the rifling by looking through the barrel of the firearm. Would also count the amount of lands and grooves inside the interior profile of the barrel and record those. This firearm I identified as a Glock Model 19 semi-automatic pistol.
And were the safety features working correctly?
Yes.
Is that firearm in the same condition as it would be when it was purchased?
This firearm is fitted with an aftermarket, with other words, not a standard barrel, an aftermarket barrel that I determined to be from a manufacturer called Silent Serco.
Silencers are legal to purchase or to use even in 41 states. Only they're illegal in California, Delaware, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Illinois, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and Rhode Island.
Has been marked and admitted as 79A.
41 states allow you to use them while hunting.
Yes, I do.
And what is 79A for the jury?
This is a box magazine that is compatible with the firearm I just handled, and these are unfired cartridges that were submitted with the firearm.
And what type of rounds are these?
These are SIG head-stamped 9mm Luger caliber cartridges.
So I'm now showing you what's been marked as and admitted as 52A. What is that?
This is a Silent Serco company manufactured pistol silencer.
I've got a friend who works for Silent Serco.
Did you examine or did you investigate whether that silencer can be used on State 79?
Yes, I did.
And can it be used on State 79?
Yes, it can.
How do you put the silencer on the Glock?
The aftermarket barrel is the muzzle of the barrel, with other words, the tip of the barrel is threaded. The silencer is threaded as well, so it's basically like screwing a ball in. You screw it onto the end of the barrel.
Does it require any special tools?
No, it doesn't.
Did you put the silencer on the Glock?
Yes, I did.
About how long does it take?
I didn't specifically time it, but less than a minute.
Would this silencer be capable of fitting on another firearm?
It would be able to fit on another similarly threaded barrel, yes. So
is it fair to say that it would have to fit onto a firearm that had this aftermarket barrel?
It will only fit on a firearm that is consistent with the caliber designation of this silencer, and that basically this silencer can screw onto. It does not necessarily have to be the same manufacturer. There are actually other manufacturers that who manufacture aftermarket barrels that are threaded with the same thread pattern as found on this Silent Serco silencer, and therefore, strictly speaking, this silencer would also fit on those barrels. But yes, certainly it would fit on the Silent Serco aftermarket barrel that we have on the submitted Glock Model 19 pistol.
When you were conducting your test fires, did you test the firearm using the silencer and also not using the silencer?
Yes, that's correct.
Did the firearm work properly when using the silencer?
Yes, the firearm performed flawlessly with both the silencer and the without the silencer.
Does a fired cartridge or a fired bullet, does that have different markings on it if a silencer is used?
Not necessarily, but it could. Because of the fact that the silencer is an attachment to the barrel, there are some critical issues that could determine whether the bullet is in fact going to be marked by the silencer or not. The primary there would be the alignment between the silencer and the barrel. If the alignment is proper between the silencer and the barrel, then generally speaking, the bullet would not touch any part of the silencer as it moves through the silencer. And therefore the silencer would have no effect on it. However, we cannot always sort of ascertain whether it aligns perfectly by simply looking at it. And generally, therefore, in cases like this, we would also fire it with the silencer in case the bullet at some point contacts the silencer as the bullet moves through the barrel or through the silencer, and essentially causes markings that are not that are not directly relatable to the barrel.
So after you test fired the Glock and had your known standards, did you compare known standards with additional evidence that you had received in this case?
Yes, I did.
I'm now showing you. What has been previously marked and admitted as 83A. And if you can tell the jury what that is.
This is a 9mm caliber fired bullet core, which I received as item and marked as item A7-1.
And just for clarification, is this core normally encapsulated in a copper jacket?
That is correct. This is not a complete bullet. This is one part of a bullet.
And did you examine 83A to one of the known standards using the comparison microscope?
I did not compare this item. A bullet core does not have sufficient markings for, or any markings for identification. Therefore, I did not do a comparison.
Okay. Is it, I think we already touched on this, but just to be clear, is it common for a bullet core to have markings on it?
It is uncommon, no.
Okay.
Oh, yes, rather.
So I'm now showing you what's been admitted as 91A. What is that?
This is a fired bullet jacket.
And is this what we're talking when we talk about the copper jacketing?
This is the copper jacket, so the core would literally sort of be encapsulated in this copper jacket.
And did you do a comparison with this item with the known standards?
Yes, I did.
And what were you able to obtain results?
This bullet jacket did not have sufficient marking or unique markings for identification, so I was not able to identify it to the submitted firearm. However, the bullet is consistent in caliber, consistent in land and groove widths, consistent in twist direction with the firearm, with other words, class characteristics, as I explained earlier, and therefore I could not exclude it as having been fired from the firearm either. So therefore, my finding was an inconclusive finding. I cannot say if this bullet was fired from the firearm, and I cannot say that the bullet was not fired from the firearm.
Okay. I'm now showing you 84A. If you could explain to the jury what that is.
This is a fired bullet consisting of both a bullet core and a bullet jacket.
And were you able to examine this item and try to make an identification?
Yes, I examined this item and determined also that it was consistent in class characteristics with the firearm, but there were insufficient individual markings for identification. Therefore, as with the other item, I was also not able to say if the bullet was fired from the firearm or if it was not fired from the firearm. I was also not able to determine if this bullet was fired in the same firearm as the submitted bullet jacket or not.
And that inconclusive result is based on a lack of individual markings?
It is based on a lack of individual characteristics, which I explained earlier, yes.
Okay. And I'm now showing you 85A. What's 85A?
85A was an item which I marked as A9-1. It is a 9mm Luger caliber fired cartridge case with an SIG head stamp.
And were you able to do a comparison with this item?
Yes, I compared this firearm to the known standard from the firearm that was submitted and determined that this cartridge case was fired from the submitted firearm.
And is that based on individual characteristics or class characteristics or both?
It is based on both. We start by looking for class characteristics. If the class characteristics are consistent, we start looking for individual characteristics. So that's the sequence. Generally, if it's inconclusive, the class characteristics are consistent, but there's not sufficient consistency in individual characteristics to make a determination. In this case, both the class characteristics and the individual characteristics were in sufficient agreement to determine that this cartridge case was, in fact, fired from the firearm.
So I am going to go back to 84A. When you were examining 84A, did you notice anything about this item?
I believe that this is the item that I removed a piece of cloth from. This item, the bullet had a piece of fabric basically lodged in the nose.
This is the important part of his testimony.
Of the bullet, which I subsequently removed.
Okay, so I'm now showing you what's been marked as
What he's testifying to now is getting a fiber from the pillow out of the barrel of the silencer.
Yes, this is consistent with the piece of cloth that I removed from, or the piece of fabric that I removed from the nose cavity of the bullet.
And when you removed that, did that piece of fabric get returned to the Vermont State Police?
Yes, I returned it to them.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit
So I was wrong.
states 84B.
That was the fabric from the bullet. There was also a fiber that was taken from the barrel of the silencer.
I do not have any other questions.
Ms. Jan?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Defense has no questions because they're not disputing the fact that he shot her with that gun. That evidence was to match up the gun with the rounds that were fired that killed Emily. The defense admits that that's what happened. So that was not key testimony, but the fabric parts were, because they're going to need that to show that it was not self-defense, that he fired through the pillow. That'll be very difficult to work into his self-defense theory to say, yeah, I had to shoot her through a pillow in self-defense. This might be our ME. We are expecting the ME to testify today, and I think, or she's DNA. ME's probably going to be last.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name?
Courtney Ganter.
And how do you spell your last name, Courtney?
Ganter.
How are you employed?
I'm employed as a DNA analyst with the Vermont Forensic Laboratory.
DNA.
What's your specific job title?
I perform casework analysis on biological evidence that's submitted to the lab in relation to criminal cases.
Do you have any other responsibilities at the lab?
I'm also responsible for maintaining equipment, reviewing other analyst case files, making sure that we're up to speed with quality assurance guidelines.
Can you please explain to the jury what your educational background is?
Yes. I went to Drexel University from 2000 to 2004, where I obtained a bachelor's degree in biology. And then I went to Arcadia University from 2005 to 2007, where I obtained a master's degree in forensic science.
Did your formal education include the study of DNA?
It did.
Did it involve any hands-on work with DNA testing techniques?
It did.
And prior to your employment at the Vermont Forensic Lab, did you hold any other positions in this field?
I did. Prior to working at the Vermont lab, I worked for the Maryland State Police in their Forensic Science Division in the DNA database unit.
As part of your employment at the lab, are you required to stay abreast of developments in the field?
Yes, we are. We're required to have at least 8 hours of continuing education every year.
Is the Vermont Forensic Lab accredited?
Yes, we are.
And does the lab follow quality assurance guidelines?
We do.
Can you give the jury some examples of what the lab does for quality assurance?
There's guidelines in place that ensure the proper training of personnel, security of evidence, proper procedures for handling evidence to ensure integrity of your results, storage of evidence, making sure that you obtain your continuing education, things like that.
I don't have to, but I would move to qualify Ms. Ganter as an expert in DNA.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, I'm qualified.
Can you explain to the jury what DNA is?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it's the genetic material that you inherit from your parents.
Where is it found in human beings?
DNA is found in all nucleated cells throughout your body. And that means that the DNA that's present in your blood is the same as the DNA that's present in your saliva, is the same as DNA that's present in your teeth.
Is the DNA in all people the same?
The testing that we do, which is called STR analysis, the DNA profiles will be different from individual to individual.
What about identical twins?
Identical twins will have the same DNA profile.
And so you mentioned this STR analysis. What does that stand for?
STR stands for short tandem repeat, and these are small repeating patterns that are found in different locations in our DNA. During STR analysis, we utilize a commercially available kit that will look at 22 different locations. The number of times that this pattern repeats is called an allele, and the locations that we're looking at are called loci. At each location, you inherit one allele from your mom and your dad. And the combination of the locations that we look at with the alleles that are present at those locations is what is our DNA profile. And that's what we use to make comparisons to evidence in a case.
Are there some basic steps in this testing process?
Yes.
And can you explain those basic steps?
There's 4 main steps. The first step is called extraction, and during this step we treat our sample with a series of chemicals to isolate the DNA. The second step is called quantitation, And during this step, we estimate how much DNA is present in our sample. The third step is called amplification, and we use a method called PCR, which is the polymerase chain reaction, to make multiple copies of just those alleles that we're interested in at the 22 locations. The final step is called DNA typing or visualization. And during this step, we use an instrument that's called a genetic analyzer. This instrument separates out the alleles by size and location, and it gives us a data printout. This printout is called an electropherogram. It basically looks like an EKG from like a heart monitor. It's a bunch of spikes. And this is the printout that we use to make our comparisons to evidence in the case.
Is this STR analysis commonly used in the United States?
Yes, it is.
And are there controls used in this testing process?
Yes, we utilize controls from the start to the end of the process, and these controls help to ensure the integrity of our materials that we're using as well as the results that we're getting.
And what steps do you take to deal with potential contamination?
We will generally utilize our controls to help us to determine if there's any sort of contamination. It also helps us to kind of track back and troubleshoot where the contamination may have occurred.
What type of results can you get from a DNA analysis?
There's a few, well, there's many different types of results. Some of the most common is obtaining a single source profile, which is a DNA profile that comes from one individual. This profile can be used to make comparisons to reference samples submitted from victims, suspects, or anyone else involved in the case. We can also get a mixed DNA profile, which is just a DNA sample that has more than one person contributing DNA to it. We can sometimes use that to make comparisons, but sometimes it isn't of sufficient quantity or quality to make a definitive determination. So we would say that this is for exclusion only. Another result we could get is just no DNA profile was obtained, and that's just due to the quantity that's present in the sample, or lack of quantity that's present in a sample.
I can't figure out what's causing that. Like I want to figure out what's doing it so I
Does
can make
your
a funny thumbnail. But
can you talk to the jury a little bit about what population frequencies are?
A population frequency in related to DNA is the frequency of an allele occurring at a given location in a population. We use this data to perform the statistics that we calculate, and it's called a random match probability. And this probability is an estimate of how common the DNA profile is in a given population. So basically assigns a uniqueness to a DNA profile.
Did you receive evidence to analyze in this case?
I did.
Before I have you start talking about that, I'm going to have Judge Pack read a stipulation. So, Judge, we have stipulation 125, Exhibit 125, which is stipulation number 10.
Any objection?
No objection, thank you.
Members of the jury, the state and defendant, Joseph Ferlazzo, have agreed that you may find certain facts. This is called a stipulation. A buccal swab was collected from the defendant, Joseph Ferlazzo's left cheek on October 19, 2021 by Vermont State Police and sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This buccal swab was analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from Mr. Ferlazzo on October 19, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 3/CSST number 1. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A1. The chain of custody of the buccal swab from Mr. Ferlazzo is not being challenged. A DNA card was collected from Emily Ferlazzo's body on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during Emily Ferlazzo's autopsy at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. This DNA card was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This DNA card was analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from Emily Ferlazzo's body on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 51/OCME number 15. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A4. A red pillow was collected from bag number 1 on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during Emily Ferlazzo's autopsy at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. A cutting from the red pillow was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This cutting was analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when it was collected from bag number 1 on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by Vermont State Police as evidence item number 59/OCME number 1B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A6. Chain of the cutting from the red pillow is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from a reddish-brown stain on a mattress on October 19th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from the mattress during the search on October 19th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 77/CCST van number 17A. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A10. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the reddish-brown stain on the mattress is not being challenged. A DNA swab was collected from the barrel end of a silencer on October 19th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. This swab was sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. This swab was analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and was in the same condition at the time of the analysis as it was when collected from the silencer during the search on October 19th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 87/CSST van number 22. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number 812. Chain of custody of the DNA swab collected from the barrel end of a silencer is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from a saw blade on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from the saw blade during the search on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 98/CSST van number 32A. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A13. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from saw blade is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from a reddish-brown stain on the underside of the shower drain on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from the underside of the shower drain during the search of October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by Vermont State Police as evidence item number 102/CSST van number 36. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A14. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the reddish-brown stain on the underside of the shower drain is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from a knife blade October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from a knife blade during the search on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 124/CSST, van number 44B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A15. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the knife blade is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from knife blade October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from a knife blade during the search on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 126/CSST, van number 45B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A16. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the knife blade is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from a knife blade October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from a knife blade during the search on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 128/CSST, van number 46B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A17. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the knife blade is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from kitchen scissors on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to Vermont.
Okay, as he's doing this, he's basically reading everything in that had DNA testing done on it. All the knives, all the implements, everywhere that there was blood in the van, the saw, the shower drain, everything else. We are saving time by doing this, but the judge sure could spice it up by reading a little bit more enthusiastically.
State Police's evidence item number 132/CSST, van number 49B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A18. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the kitchen scissors is not being challenged. DNA swabs were collected from kitchen scissors on October 20th, 2021 by Vermont State Police during a search of the camper pursuant to a valid search warrant. These swabs were sent to the Vermont Forensic Lab. These swabs were analyzed by Courtney Ganter at the Vermont Forensic Lab and were in the same condition at the time of the analysis as they were when collected from the kitchen scissors during the search on October 20th, 2021. This item was logged by the Vermont State Police as evidence item number 134/CSST, van number 50B. This item was logged by the Vermont Forensic Lab as item number A19. Chain of custody of the DNA swabs collected from the kitchen scissors is not being challenged. As with any evidence in this trial, you must decide what weight you will give this
There,
stipulation.
we made it through. Whew. Long stipulation.
And states 125 is in.
Self-defense cases usually do have a lot of stipulations to evidence like this. This judge is the one who reads it in this court.
Thank you.
The lawyers read them in other ones.
Okay. So after hearing that, the jury now knows that you received a bunch of items for testing. Of the items that you received, the first two that was read in the stipulation were a sample from Emily Ferlazzo and Joseph Ferlazzo. What is the point of receiving those kinds of samples?
The point of receiving those samples is to make comparisons from the evidence samples that are submitted in a case.
And to be clear, you don't do any sort of STR analysis on those?
We do.
You
They go through the same process as the evidence samples. They just get processed at a separate time.
And of all the other samples that were mentioned, did you test those samples in accordance with your training and experience?
I did.
And of the items that you examined, were you able to develop a DNA profile from those items?
For some of them, yes.
And was there certain items that, why weren't you able to obtain a DNA profile from some of the items?
Some of the items were just not of sufficient quantity to develop a full DNA profile.
And can you explain to the jury what item that was?
May I reference my report?
Yes.
So there was one sample, item A18, which is a sample from a blade and divot. And that sample, I was unable to develop any sort of DNA profile that would be suitable for interpretation.
Were there any swabs that you analyzed that showed inconclusive results?
Yes, there were two samples that I analyzed that had inconclusive results.
And can you explain to the jury what an inconclusive result is?
As I briefly mentioned before, an inconclusive result is basically saying you're not sure. The data that's present isn't really of sufficient quantity or quality to make a definitive determination.
And what were the samples, or what were the swabs that you obtained an inconclusive result on?
Those two items were items A12, which was the barrel end of a suppressor, as well as item A19, which was another blade. And both of them resulted, the profiles that were obtained from both of those samples, when compared to the standards submitted from Emily and Joseph, was inconclusive.
And did you, were there any swabs that you obtained a result that there was a mixture of DNA profiles on?
Yes, those two samples that I just talked about were both mixed DNA samples.
And when you receive an inconclusive result, is it possible for you to rule out an individual from that kind of a result?
The data that's present in those types of samples, you are able to make exclusions if data does not match. In this case, that wasn't the case. Data was consistent, so I can't say for sure who the source of the DNA is, but inconclusive as to their contributions to that sample.
And so of the remaining 6 swabs, were you able to match those 6 swabs to either Emily or Joseph?
The remaining 6 swabs were consistent with Emily.
And as part of your analysis of those 6 swabs, were you able to do a statistical calculation of the profile you obtained?
Yes.
And what was the result of that? Well, let's start with item 46B, which is your item number.
A17.
Yes, A17. What was the statistical calculation on that item?
For A17, which was a blade, I obtained a partial DNA profile, meaning it wasn't a full DNA profile. And the statistic that was calculated that the probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual that would exhibit that partial DNA profile at only one location is approximately 1 in 51 from the combined population.
1 in 51.
And did you obtain a
I've ever
different
heard with DNA.
statistical analysis for the remaining 5 samples?
Yes, I did.
And what was the statistical calculation on those samples?
The probability of randomly selecting an unrelated individual exhibiting the DNA profile at the full 22 loci that were tested is greater than 1 in 1 quadrillion from the combined population.
What is a quadrillion?
A quadrillion is a very large number, and it's basically the next number. If you're counting by large numbers, you go million, billion, trillion. Quadrillion would be the next set.
And so how many zeros is that?
There's 15 zeros.
What's the world's population?
About 8 billion.
And so how much is a quadrillion beyond the Earth's population?
So to get to a quadrillion, you'd have to take the world's population and multiply it by 125,000.
Can you explain to the jury what the truncation process is on this statistical analysis?
So we report our stats. We don't report numbers greater than 1 in 1 quadrillion for 2 reasons. One, based on our testing and doing these calculations, we recognize that once you have a full DNA profile, your numbers are generally way, way larger than a quadrillion. And that said, once you get to numbers larger than a quadrillion, which is already kind of a big number that's hard to handle, the enormity of the numbers start losing their impact. It doesn't really make a difference. They're just really, really, really big numbers. So we truncate at 1 quadrillion.
And did you get
They
actual
stop at
numbers
1
in this case?
quadrillion.
Yes.
And what were the actual numbers?
I'm referring to my report or my case file, if that's okay.
You'd think about 10 billion or so would be enough. So it'd be like
For 4 of the samples that matched to Emily, the actual population, if it wasn't truncated, would be million, billion, trillion, 1 in 18 octillion. So that's a number that has 27 zeros after it. For another item that
my
matched to
calculator
Emily,
can't go that high.
and this was only tested, statistics were performed on only 21 of those locations, so 1 less than the other ones. The non-truncated result would be 1 in 4 octillion.
Okay. So to summarize, you were able to conclusively match Emily's DNA to 6 items?
Yes.
And those items were your numbers item A10, which was a swab from a mattress.
Yes.
You were also able to conclusively match to the saw blade, which was item A12, or I'm sorry, A13.
Yes.
And then the reddish brown stain on the underside of the shower, which was item A14.
Yes.
And then 3 saw blades. Is that correct? We have, oh, I'm sorry, knives. A15.
Yes.
A16.
Yes.
And A17.
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Okay.
We're flying through the witnesses.
Judge, I'm asking for a morning break.
We have to set up technology for our next witness anyway.
We'll take a 15-minute morning break. Thank you.
That means probably the next witness is the ME, I think. Okay, the key takeaways. The DNA analysis showed that the defendant used pretty much every tool in his camper van to dismember his wife after he killed her. All the knives in the kitchen block, which he then put back in the kitchen block. Scissors, the saw, pretty much everything. Then put her dismembered body into 8 different garbage bags and stacked them up in the shower for later disposal. He wanted to go get his Jeep so he could go out in the wilderness, probably off-road a little bit, and bury the various parts and pieces. But he never got that far in his plan. Instead, he went out with his sister, had breakfast, gave her a tattoo, took a shower in the sister's place because his bathroom was busy. Went to his wife's parents' house, talked with them, didn't tell them what he had just done. This is wild. We are going to try to, let's see if I can do this. I think we're going to switch things up so I can record Judge Oakley. Judge Oakley has a SOV sit coming in today for a traffic ticket that we've been looking forward to. And I don't want to miss it. Let's see. Let's put this one on right here. So now let's go find Judge Oakley. "34th District Court, Judge Brian Oakley." There he is. Yeah, he's not live yet, but I think he's due in about half an hour, so we'll watch for that. If somebody can give me a heads up if you see his channel go live, so I can catch that. We're going to watch that later today. Show everyone the thumbnail first. Ooh, the thumbnail. Where do we have that? Okay, first of all, what is up with this? If I want to turn off 4, 1. Did I do pattern? Oh, it was pattern. I think it was pattern. I went to pattern instead of DVE. This is our glamour shot. Glamour shot. Thanks, Red Pen, for including this on the thumbnail. Looks great. Okay. I was wondering what I was like one button off. All right. Let's see. We can bring it in over here, I think. First, I have to turn this off. All right, let's see. Canva. Red Pen has been working on a thumbnail with your help. Let's see if we can get this pulled up. I do have to announce, by the way, no podcast this week. At least we're planning on no podcast. Thomas obviously has some things going on, especially with his cousin who just got in an accident. He was already headed down that area, and the cousin got in an accident last night, and he was headed there anyway, so he's going to be going there. So thoughts with him. Everybody, please, thoughts and prayers for his cousin and for Thomas and his family. Let's see here. Let's go to this right here. Here's the work of art as envisioned by Red Pen. You've got me in the bus. In the bus. I'm driving the bus, and it's the trippy bus because you've got like all three of me when I was having trouble with my overlays. I've got the candle. I think this is the latest edition. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that was added since then, since last night. I think that's the gist of it. Is I'm now in the trippy bus, like the tribal tattoo on the bus. That was quite the addition. Looks good. Looks really good. All right, we're going to be going back to 6 for our live. All right, let's see. Let's go back to your comments and questions if we have any. Shrink this down and bring you guys back on the screen. There we go. Red Pen does a fantastic work. What was the thumbnail for Maya's trial? I don't think we did a thumbnail. I think I did a thumbnail. I don't think we did a group one for that one. The bong on top, too? I thought the bong was there before. I think you added the bong early. I mean, the first time it was mentioned. Red Pen has many talents. Correcting me, my English is just one of them. One wonders why polygraph is spelled incorrectly. Red Pen? Is polygraph spelled incorrectly? Hang on. Got to jump in and see it before it's changed. Would you look at that polygraph? Gragh. Is that how it's spelled? Maybe it was misspelled on the video. It's on purpose. What was the reference? It's spelled wrong on purpose. Okay. I could go look and see why. Let's see. Polygraph was spelled wrong. Interview room where he was fed. Polygraph spelled wrong. And interview room where he was fed and confessed. Why was polygraph spelled wrong? I mean, I see it in the notes as it was intentional. I like page 2. While making thumbnails, please consider the following. It's a list of instructions for all of you. It keeps things more organized. All right. Spelled wrong on purpose. The police didn't spell it correctly. I missed that. Watermark on the interrogation video spelled like that. All right. We are rapidly approaching the end of this state's case. I believe possibly even today, which means tomorrow might just be defense. And then we can have a hump day verdict again. It's been a bit since we've had a hump day verdict. It used to be a trend, especially when I had meetings on Wednesday nights that would conflict, but we'll see. Polygiraffe. It's closer. That sneeze snuck up on me. Luckily, I have a box of tissues nearby. All right. Couple minutes more of a break here as they get set for what I believe will be the ME testimony, which I don't think they're going to show the pictures. So I think we should be okay. But Becca, I was busy looking at things to bid on online government auctions. And I missed it. I apologize. Can't remember where I heard it, but I thought this trial was supposed to last almost 2 weeks. Natty, if we didn't have the stipulations that we just went through, that we've been going through every single day, this trial could last 2 weeks. It could be quite lengthy. But we're way ahead of schedule, and as is, the judge says we might be done on Wednesday. So these stipulations really speed things up. Any more songs? Not since the last one. I haven't made any songs. I reserve the right to make songs at will, though. Let's see here. Just making sure I didn't miss any questions. Defense is not letting go of the issue that they've raised early on in this trial, and that is that they feel that the confession was coerced. Coerced by kind treatment, blankets, coffee, donuts, pizza, sandwiches, caring, patient investigators who'd never raised their voice. Yeah, it was the weirdest coercion I've ever seen. And fully Mirandized and signed waiver. Golden Girl, 22 months, OG. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Golden Girl. Good to have you here. Let's see. Sharon Kent Sharp, yes. Stevens, spelled with 2 E's. Stevens Hot Chocolate. My wife convinced me of its greatness, and I have to admit she is right. Josh, member for 10 months. 10 months exactly today. Good to have you, Josh. Wonderful to have you as a mod as well. Appreciate the hard work you do. Speaking of hard work, let me check Judge's channel, see if he's going live yet. Not yet. Jedi Jen counting down the minutes to an orange courthouse. Very soon, you'll be there. Ricky, I'm feeling a little better. I've still got, occasional sneeze here and there and a sniffle, but much better today. So I think I'm on the mend. The Glock was under a pillow. The gun was in the drawer. You're right, Mary. I think in self-defense he'll say that she had a gun under her pillow and he had a gun normally under his, but for some reason his was in his hand already. Josh, yes, that's also on the plan. I'm hoping Oakley goes live. I think he will, because I think he said that the defendant had to be there in person, but the officers could be there on Zoom, if I remember right. So it should be a Zoom, should be live streamed. Betsy Jean, member for 9 months, and another RA baby to add to the family. Betsy Jean, thank you very much. Send a picture to the burner. Check it out. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Ah, yes. Here's me zooming in on the books to see what books your kids are reading. Kiddos still enjoying hot cocoa from our 4-pound container of Stevens from last year during homework. That's awesome. We are having some audio and video sync issues. We're trying to get those sorted out today. Are you taking the 23rd through the 27th off? No, Alita Lay, what we plan on doing is doing a little court hopping during that time, and I also would like to do a end-of-year sort of best-of celebration, where on your suggestions, I select winners. Let's go back to court really quickly. I select winners of the best trials, and here's how it works. You submit a nomination, and you complete all the fields. Preferably, if you can give us a timestamp of like with a video where it happened and a link, a URL link, that would be the best, because then it might have a better chance of winning. I'll put it that way, because I will probably go back and show a lot of these clips during the end of the best of, so we can just do a looking back on the year. We might go beyond the year, I'm not sure, just looking back on the past 2 years, and based on your nominations, we'll present some awards for the best of, best judge, best defense, best opening statements, best whatever funny thing you thought of. And of course, the nominee will also get recognized for each of those awards. Miss Violet, I don't know. YouTube has been funny. That's all I can say. Steven's Candy Cane Cocoa is delicious. Looks like the judge is coming back here, so let's get some audio again. Someone just sent me your new cell number, but not your name.
Please be seated. Jury's back after our morning break. And in the matter of State versus Joseph Ferlazzo Jr., and we'll resume.
Thank you, Judge. The state calls Detective Sergeant Carrie Fiore.
Oh, geolocation analysis. This is going to be cell phone. Not ME yet.
Shall be the whole truth for nothing but the truth, never the pain, and
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Detective.
Good morning.
Can you tell the jury your name and spell your last name, please?
My name is Carrie Fiore. My last name is spelled F as in Frank, I-O-R-E.
Great. And how are you employed?
I'm currently with the Vermont State Police, assigned to the Technology Investigation Unit.
How long have you been with the Vermont State Police?
Since 2007.
Were you in any prior law enforcement before that?
I was a dispatcher for a couple years prior to.
Okay. How long have you been with the Technology Unit?
Since 2017.
Okay. And do you have specialized training for this position?
Yes.
What is that?
I am a Celebrite certified premium operator. I have also additional training in mobile device digital forensics. I am a certified subject matter expert in call detail record and geolocation analysis through LexisNexis. I've also attended additional training for that as well, including a 40-hour basic course and the SME course. I am a member of the National Domestic Communications Assistance Center Law Enforcement Technical Forum, which is a biannual conference where technical investigators get together and we're able to meet with different providers for kind of a Q&A moment with them. I've continued additional conferences in various different types of digital forensics and call detail record and geolocation analysis.
Okay. How often are you attending trainings?
Multiple times a year.
Okay. And as a member of the TIU, what does TIU stand for again?
Technology Investigation Unit.
Okay. And as a member of the TIU, what are your general duties?
Again, I'm a trained digital forensic examiner for mobile devices, but my primary specialty is in call detail record and geolocation analysis.
Okay. And what type of location data do you analyze?
I really deal with two types of location data. One that is comes from call detail records, which is the location information that we can get from our cellular network providers, like T-Mobile and AT&T. And I also deal with location information that comes off of devices themselves that are forensically extracted from the devices.
Okay. Can you tell the jury briefly how mobile devices connect to or utilize cellular networks?
Yes. So the cellular network is radio frequency. It's just like the radio in your car, only it's using your cell phone that connects with an antenna from your cell phone to an antenna on a cell site, which is how the device is able to exchange data back and forth. Those cell sites, we kind of traditionally think of them as the big tall towers. That's what we used to refer to them as, that also have antennas. Nowadays, we can see those cell sites really are much smaller and can be on the sides of buildings or on top of street posts. The device is always communicating with the cellular network, and that's really designed so that when a user wants to do something on their cell phone, like make a phone call or send a text message or check the latest TikTok video, that phone is already connected to the network and can do what it's asked to do, and the user doesn't have to wait for that to happen. So as part of making sure that that occurs, the cell phone is always making sure it knows where the best serving cell site is, and the cellular network is always making sure it knows where the cell phone is so that it can provide the best network. When a cell site isn't providing that best quality signal, then it's going to hand off to another cell site which is going to provide that best quality signal.
Okay, so someone doesn't have to actually be using their phone in order for their phone to be communicating with these towers. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what a call detail record is, a CDR?
So call detail records are business records. It's data and records that the cellular network providers are going to keep in the course of their regular business needs. They do it for a couple of reasons. At a most basic level, it's so that they know what they're billing their subscribers for. How many phone calls did they make? How many messages did they send? At a more advanced level, they're actually using these records because they are assessing where the devices are on the network all the time, and that's called ranging data. We refer to it as distance to tower. And those records are engineering records so that they can constantly assess how the network is performing.
Okay. So is there location data that comes from the carrier that is separate from the records that you get from the actual device?
Yes.
Okay. And what are some examples of that?
So what we get from the call detail records are going to be the cell site connections, what cell site was utilized in order to complete an action. And we know where those cell sites are because we get a cell site list from the carrier. The device itself is actually also trying to know where it is at all times, and that's to enhance the user experience. So take, for example, an iPhone. That device is always going to know where it is in space, if you will, so that when the user wants to do something like check the weather in their hometown, it already knows where it is. It doesn't have to wait for that device to figure it out, and then it can load up that right now it's in Burlington, Vermont. From that, there's also additional location information that can come off the phone because it's taking all of that raw location information that we call cached locations, and it's interpreting it, and it will start to apply kind of categorical information to it. For example, all of the raw location information might be here at the courthouse right now. So an iPhone might say, well, this is a significant location to me right now because I haven't moved. I've stayed at the courthouse.
This testimony is sponsored by Apple.
It also might interpret where a car is parked, even if that car or that device is not connected with a car. Based on the totality of the information, it might say, well, I was driving and now I'm stopped and therefore a car was parked somewhere.
Okay. So just as that last example you gave, if somebody has parked, when you go back in, it'll actually tell you where you parked your car. Is that right?
Yes, you can see some of that information within the settings of the device.
Okay. So then how do you analyze this data once you receive it from the carrier?
So I use a program that's called LexisNexis Accurate Tracks, and I'm able to take the different types and the different sources of location information and process it using this tool. And what this tool does is it creates a map that I can use Google Earth, which is pretty standard on everybody's computer, to be able to navigate through the location information from the different sources. In order to do that, I need those cell site lists that I can get from the carrier so I know where the cell sites are located at. Once I've created those maps, excuse me, I'll validate it to make sure that it's been processed correctly and everything's showing correctly. And then when I conduct my analysis, I'm really kind of looking for a couple of things. I'm looking for how that device is utilizing a cellular network, patterns that it's displaying, times when it's moving versus times when it's not. And that's all conducted through looking at maps.
Okay. And before we get to this particular case, have you been qualified as an expert in geolocation analysis and CDR call detail records in Vermont?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, the state would move to qualify her as a subject matter expert.
I'll do it if there's no objection.
There's no objection. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so did you do a geolocation analysis in this case?
Yes.
And what was the time frame that you were analyzing?
I primarily focused in on October 15th through the 19th.
Okay. And why did you focus on those days?
From the cumulative case file, those were the dates that appeared of the most interest. It was also the dates from search warrants.
Okay. And did you create an exhibit for the jury outlining your analysis in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Is this it?
Yes.
It's marked as States 115. Judge, the state would move to admit States 115.
Objection.
State 115 is admitted without objection.
And States 126 is the final stipulation for the court to read.
The final stipulation. Here we go. Please don't be like 6 pages long.
I would move to admit that first, Judge.
So any objection to reading stipulation 11 and States 126 is admitted in evidence. Members of the jury, the state and the defendant, Joseph Ferlazzo, have agreed that you may find certain facts. This is called a stipulation. State's exhibit number 115 is a PowerPoint presentation that will not be entered into evidence but will be used for demonstrative purposes to aid in the testimony of Detective Sergeant Carrie Fiore. This PowerPoint presentation is based in part on a stipulation to the following facts. Joseph Ferlazzo's cellular telephone number is 802-355. Cellular carrier is AT&T. Emily Ferlazzo's cellular telephone number is 603. carriers T-Mobile. Further, the phone records related to 1, these telephone numbers, 2, Joseph Ferlazzo's iPhone, as well as any 3 Facebook records, were all received through valid search warrants, and the authentication of the records and data received from each is not being challenged. As with any evidence in this trial, you must decide what weight you will give this statement. 126 is admitted.
Cough right into the mic for us, please.
So, Detective Fiore, what data sources did you use in order to create this?
So, for this exhibit, I used the T-Mobile records for Emily's number ending in 2955. I used a singular Facebook location that came from the Facebook account ember.schwartz. That was also for Emily. For Joseph, I used the AT&T records for the phone number ending in 8485, as well as the device extraction that came from an iPhone, which was evidence item number 14.
Okay. And all of the data that you used for these analysis was gained through search warrants, is that correct?
Yes, this is a list of all of the files that were obtained via search warrants that were utilized for this exhibit.
Okay. And did you use this data to generate maps included in this exhibit?
Yes.
And what are we going to see? What is the jury going to see on these slides?
So up in the upper right-hand corner is going to be kind of a key. So all of the data from the different sources is color-coded. So anything that's red is associated with those AT&T records for Joseph. Anything that's pink is associated with the iPhone, evidence item 14. Everything that is blue is associated with the T-Mobile records for Emily. As there was only one Facebook location, it is also colored blue, but it is not listed on here. All of the locations of interest are designated by icons. The legend is over on the right-hand side to show what those icons are in reference to. Again, this is Google Earth. This is the program that I use to look at these maps. Up in the upper left-hand corner is going to be a timeline slider. This is going to move throughout the presentation. It's going to represent the time frame that is being displayed on the map at that given time. For the most part, this is going to be in about a 5-minute increment, but there's a couple of times where it's going to fluctuate throughout the exhibit.
Okay. And looking at the right side, the A, B, C, D, just so the record is clear, they say Bass residence, Lang residence, Bear Run Road, and Lemons residence. How were those determined to be locations of interest?
Through my review of the case file information.
Okay. And you mapped the location data or information from these data sources. So what does it look like when a cell site is used?
So down at the bottom of the screen is a snippet of what the original record looks like. This particular one is from the AT&T records that we can see because it's designated by the red in color. Above it is a snippet or a screenshot of the corresponding cell site list. So when I'm looking at these records, over on the left-hand side is going to be the transactional information. This is a voice call that's showing up here on the screen. There's a date, a time, a to, a from, and how long it lasts. There's going to be a call bubble that associates that same information. The difference is that it's going to be converted into local time, whereas the original record is in time code universal, so it is converted. In the middle there is the IMEI. This is like the serial number of the device. So this is the serial number of the device that was using the AT&T network. During my analysis, I did coordinate this with item number 14 to show that it is the same device. For every cell site, there's going to be an identifier, and then there's that location, like I previously testified to, that we know the locations of them. The location of the cell site is going to be represented by that push pin on the map. That's where that cell site is physically located. There's a line that kind of goes up the middle there. That's called the azimuth. That's just basically the direction that cell site is pointing. These cell sites are pointed in if you imagine like a clock, They're pointed at an orientation that's in degrees. And then the red shaded area, this is called the radio frequency horizontal plane. This is something that my tool, Accurate Tracks, will actually map out as well. This is the estimated handoff area of that cell site. This is not coverage. This is the area in which the device likely was in order to use that cell site before it would hand off to another cell site for that better quality signal.
Okay. And what does distance to tower look like?
So distance to tower is that ranging information that I talked about earlier. This is where the network is trying to figure out where that device is at any given time. And it's measured in a variety of different ways. But in this, at the bottom, we have that screenshot of the original record. This is T-Mobile as designated by the blue. That push pin there is, again, that location of that cell site, where it is on the map. Our azimuth is depicted on here, which way that cell site was pointed at that time. And then there's a distance from the cell site. In this case, in this example, it's 3.01 miles away from the cell site. That's what that arc represents. That arc is 3.01 miles away from the cell site. So for distance to tower, what I'm looking at is that device is somewhere along that arc.
So what does the location information from the device look like on a map?
So from the device itself, it's going to be colored in pink. This is an example of a trip. So this is where the device said that a trip was started, and there's going to be that call box with that time that it started, and then it's going to move over to where the trip ended. There's no location accuracy rating for these. It's just a singular coordinate point and the time that the trip started, the trip ended. With these trips, there typically is going to be a significant location visit that corresponds with it. And that is the device saying that I was in this location from this time to this time. So there's a start and an end to the significant locations. There's going to be a couple other types of location information that came from the device, but it's going to look the same. It's going to be a dot on the map.
Okay. So when you, I think those are all the things you said that the jury was going to see. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you conducted your analysis in this case, what did you focus on?
I focused on a timeline of events.
Okay. And is that depicted in your exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. So starting with October 15th, can you walk us through your analysis? It looks like the first grouping of time is from 8:31 in the morning through 3:47 in the afternoon.
Yes. So what I saw doing my analysis beginning around 8:30 in the morning is Joseph's device was using that AT&T network, and it was down in that Northfield, New Hampshire area. We can see that the Bass residence fell within the H-plane, or that estimated handoff area of the cell sites that were getting utilized. I saw that it kind of bounced back and forth between a couple of cell sites, again, looking for that best quality signal, but staying pretty much the same. Emily's device had that distance to tower, and in this example here, when it's happening, this is about 11:37, the distance to tower actually crosses. And when I see that, it's called multilateration, the device is somewhere in close proximity to where that device is crossing at. And I saw that that happened in near proximity to the Bass residence. As I continued my analysis, I saw that kind of a pattern emerged between these devices and how they were utilizing their respective cellular networks. Joseph's device kind of was bouncing around the same ones. Emily's device was bouncing around the same ones. About 12:41 is when the evidence item 14, or Joseph's iPhone, started a trip. And that was in close proximity to the Bass residence. There's no location accuracy for that one. It's just that coordinate location. As my analysis continued through, I could see that there was a change in cell site locations for Joseph's device. Emily's device kind of stayed in that same area, but we had that trip stop, or that trip end, for Joseph's iPhone. When that trip ended, there was a corresponding significant location visit. In this particular case, it went from about 12:52 to 12:54 on the 15th. And as I examined it further to see what was down in the area of where that significant location visit occurred, I saw that it was actually a Market Basket shopping center down in that area.
I was going to guess
in front of the Walmart.
I was going to guess Walmart, but no. Market Basket.
So after that significant location visit ended, a new trip was started. And moving forward, I saw that the device moved back to the area of the Bass residence. And that cell site information, again, I kind of saw the changes in the cell sites, and it went back to that earlier pattern that I had seen previously when item 14 was in the area of the Bass residence. This significant location visit was from 13:08 until 15:45 on the 15th. So I saw that that device had been there for a while. And going through the cell site activity and how the cellular network was pretty much the pattern that I saw. These devices weren't moving around. It was the same cell site usage, and I saw the same network activity for both of the devices. And that lasted until about 15:45. Around 15:45 to 15:47 is when I saw a change. Over on the left-hand side, I can actually see that distance to tower has a distinctive change as those distances got shorter. And that occurred at the same time that a trip was started on item 14. So in my analysis, I saw this as the beginning of movement.
Okay. And so were you able to determine where the devices went at approximately 3:47 on Friday the 15th?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like the next timeline you have is from 3:47 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. Is that right?
Yes.
And so you're going to sort of do the same thing you just did, but for that 3-hour time frame?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So once I saw that movement start, then I began to see both of the devices had a shift in cell site usage over to the west. And this is clear to me that this is now devices that are moving. As they continued to move west, it got a little busy. There was a lot of activity. Depends on the area that they're in for why there might be more. But overall, they're definitely shifting to the west. A little bit, about 4:29-ish. Item 14 had a trip that ended, and with that trip ending, there was also that significant location visit that lasted from 16:29 to 16:33. These also fell within the H-planes of the cell site usage at the time, corroborating everything. When I went to examine it further to see what was in the area of that significant location visit, I saw that there was a gas station. I believe that this was in the Andover, New Hampshire area. So as I continued with my analysis, I watched that cell site usage continue to change. It was a clear pattern of movement between both devices as they started to move to the west. There was a trip that was started on item 14. And then I saw the cell site usage reflect that those devices were moving in the same pattern of travel. They went up to the Lebanon, New Hampshire area. That trip that had started previously is now ended. And I can see that that trip occurs. The coordinate location for that trip occurs in close proximity to where the distance to tower was. A significant location visit was triggered from 17:29 to 17:22 until 17:29 hours. And when I examined the area further, because both devices were in that same area, I could see it was a shopping center. The location information was kind of in that whole parking lot. There's a Target there. There was a Supercuts.
No Walmart
So that
yet,
significant
Ms. Terrell.
location visit continued for a couple more minutes. And I could see that the distance to tower for Emily's device was still maintaining that same area. And then a trip was started on item 14. As my analysis continued for this time frame, we're now around like the 17:30 hours, I can see the cell site usage for both devices showed that they were traveling. And they were showing the same patterns of travel and movement in the same areas. At about 6:45 or 18:45, the trip ends for item 14.
Okay, thank you. Just looking, we're looking at a lot of data here. Your testimony is that the devices are in the same area, but they don't always look like they are. Can you explain to the jury why they might be slightly different in slightly different spots if they're together?
So the cell site network is based on the respective carrier, AT&T and T-Mobile in this case. They have their cell sites put in different places. So the physical location of the cell sites might not be the same. Sometimes they're co-located, sometimes they're different. But when I'm conducting my analysis, I'm again looking for that pattern, and I can see that the general pattern is that they're in the same areas at the same time.
Okay, and in this case, one of the phones, one of the carriers was it Joseph's was AT&T?
Yes.
And Emily's was T-Mobile?
Yes.
Right. Okay, and you never analyzed Emily's phone in this case, is that right?
Correct.
We didn't, because it was never provided to you?
Correct.
Okay, so this trip appears to have ended at approximately 6:45 on Friday the 15th.
She was still alive at this point.
Are
Emily's
the
still
devices
alive.
now?
So when I look at this now, about 6:45, that trip has ended. There's a significant location visit. I can see that significant location visit falls along Emily's distance to tower again, showing that they're in the same area. This visit was from 6:45 until 6:57. And when I went to examine the area a little bit further, this is the Waterbury, Vermont area. And I can see that Crossroads Deli is in that same area of where that device was.
Okay, and are you able to tell where it goes from here?
Yes. So they're there for a little bit of time. When that significant location visit ends, then we'll see that trip start, or I saw that trip start. And then there's going to be a shift in the cell site usage. So I can see the trip started. And when I'm looking for movement, again, I'm looking for that cell site location usage, and I saw that shift happen over to the west now. I saw that these devices then were utilizing a cell site over in the Bolton, Waterbury-ish area, but together the H-planes and that distance to tower were showing that they were in the same area, and that trip ended falling within all of the cellular network data.
Okay, and we see that there is a C in the kind of middle of this red space, and that is Bear Run Road. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to?
That's where the Airbnb was.
Point?
Yes. Okay. So at about 1919 is when that trip ended, and that significant location visit started. When I start to look in further, I can see that falls along Bear Run Road. That significant location visit for Joseph's device went from 1919 on the 15th until 12:04 the next day on the 16th. So overnight hours.
And what happened with the devices in the area of Bear Run in that time frame?
So they kind of kept showing the same cell site usage throughout the evening. Again, I'm looking for those patterns, and I'm showing that devices are just not moving around. At 2013 was when Emily's Facebook account had her last message, and so her distance to tower at that time was consistent with that Bear Run Road area. They're not moving around. The cell site usage just kept going on the same and same. At 21:39 or or 939 is an outgoing message from Joseph's device to the phone number ending in 7611. But the cell site information is still showing that these devices aren't moving around. They're still in the same area. They're utilizing the network in the same way. And that continues at 10:14 or 22:14 hours is the singular Facebook location information that I had, which when mapped also indicated that the device was in the Bear Run Road area. It fell along the distance to tower arcs from Emily's T-Mobile call detail records. So all of this together is just showing that corroboration between multiple different sources, which is what I use in my analysis. And that same pattern continued up and through midnight.
Okay. So we are now at midnight on October 15th, Friday, October 15th. So it looks like the next timeline event is October 16th from midnight through 3:40 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so what happened with the devices starting at midnight on the 16th?
So the timeline slider is actually going a little slow now. Sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it goes slow. The reason it's going slow is because as I'm going through my analysis, I noticed that I stopped having cell site information for Joseph's device. When I looked into the item 14, I found that at midnight 01, the iPhone was powered off. Emily's device continued to utilize the T-Mobile network. Again, I'm looking at those same arcs. They're static, they're not moving around, they're not changing cell sites. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning is the last time that Emily's device connected with the T-Mobile network. So I went a little bit of time. I did not have any cell site usage for either device. And this continued until about 2:10 in the morning, or excuse me, 1:35 in the morning, it was powered back on. There's a brief little amount of time that it was roaming on another network, so I still didn't have anything mappable until it hit the AT&T network. Once it hit the AT&T network, I saw it was utilizing the same cell sites that it had been before. Again, looking at that pattern over and over again, seeing it the same way that I had been seeing it previously. And then at 2:10, the device was powered back off again. So once it gets powered off, I have nothing mappable. That device is not communicating with the network. Emily's device is no longer communicating with the network. And it just continued that way until 3:39 when item 14 or Joseph's device was powered back on.
In all the data that you reviewed for the full 4 days, did you ever see any other times where the device was powered off or on?
No.
It's just between midnight and 3:40 a.m. on Friday night into Saturday morning?
Yes.
After item 14, Joseph's phone was powered back on and the data resumed, what happened to the device? It looks like the next 3:40 a.m. to approximately noon.
So once the device was powered back on, it showed that same pattern of cell site usage. So it's not moving around, it's not changing cell sites, it's just showing that same pattern. At 7:48, there was an outgoing message from item 14 to the phone number ending in 7611. Again, knowing that cell site usage is showing the same pattern, the device hasn't changed its location while it was sending that message. Moving forward, at 8:02, there was an outgoing message again to the 7611 number from the item 14. During that time, that cell site usage is showing that consistency. The timeline slider is going to open up, and the reason for this is because up until about 12:03, that device was not moving around enough to see any movement. So I opened it up to be able to see that it's a static pattern. This is also during the time that, from my events that I analyzed, that this is when they had gone to Maxie's restaurant. and maxis fell within the estimated handoff range, or that H-plane, of the cell sites that are being utilized. But there's not enough information for me to be able to narrow down the specific location of the device at this time. It's just that H-plane.
Okay, so from your next timeline is around noon on the 16th, Saturday the 16th through 7 p.m. Can you tell the jury what the device was doing during that time? So at noon 03 is when I started to see movement. There was a trip that was started from item 14. And then I saw that the cell sites that get utilized are going to shift. And I'm going to see that movement as they kind of move up towards the Franklin County area. And that trip is going to end. Again, that was during my analysis, a clear change from that static pattern of cell site usage to that movement. The significant location visit that happens is from 1301 until 1906, and I saw that occurred in near the location B, which is the Lang residence. So that device was there for several hours at the Lang residence. So during my analysis then, I started to look to see what the network activity was during that time. And I could see that pattern start to emerge again of just kind of the same cell site usage over and over again. At 109 or 1309 is an outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14. And I could see, again, that cell site usage now. That H-plane encompasses the Lang residence. So everything's kind of corroborating itself. There was an outgoing message to Emily's number at 120 or 1320. So looking at that cell site usage, I'm kind of seeing the same cell site location getting used over and over. At 152 is another outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14. And it's designated in pink to show that that is the source of that information. At 202 is an outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14. And I haven't seen during this time while I was doing my analysis, I didn't see a change in cell site usage. There's a second message to 2955 at 202 to Emily's number. I'm seeing that same cell site usage reflective of the Franklin County area. I don't have anything more specific at this point, but I do have that significant location visit. At 209 is an outgoing call from Joseph's number to Emily's number. See that device is just utilizing that same cell site location. It's covering the Franklin County area. I knew from the significant location visit that the phone thought it was still in the same place. At 2:35 was an outgoing call to Emily's number from Joseph's number. At 2:57 is an outgoing message from item 14 to Emily's number. And that cell site usage is showing that same pattern. I know that significant location visit is still in effect right now. So that device is not moving around. And then at little after 3 is when item 14 had a new type of location information that I was able to map. And this is a parked car location. And this was at 1503. There's no location accuracy, but the coordinate location fell close to the Lang residence up on Meadowbrook Road. So it's all consistent. This is that pattern that I'm looking for when I do my analysis, is everything's kind of showing the same location.
The timeline slider kind of speeds up now because it's just the same pattern over and over and over again. And then at 6:55 is an outgoing call from Joseph's number to Emily's number. Around that same time is another parked car location. So that iPhone thought that it had a parked car location. I can see that coordinate point fell within the H-plane of that voice call, and it is near the Lang residence. And then kind of moving forward in time, from item 14, I also saw some pictures that were taken, and the data from the pictures, it's called the EXIF data, show that they were created on the 16th at 1859 or 6:59, and they were of tattoos.
Okay, thank you. Does the device, so this is ending at 6:59 p.m. on Saturday night, does the device stay at the Lang's residence overnight, or does it move again?
It moves.
Okay, so where does the device go next? It looks like you have 6:59 p.m. to 8:38 as the next group.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So initially it's using that same cell site, and then there's a trip that's started on item 14. And as I was doing my analysis, I could see that during that trip, then I saw a change in the cell site usage. The H-planes are now oriented in a different way, so that's showing a device that has now moved. There is also the end of the trip, as well as a significant location visit. That visit occurred from 1915 until 2032. And when I examined it further to see what was in the area where that significant location visit occurred, I could see that it was down in St. Albans, and Twig's restaurant, gastropub, was in that area of where that significant location visit occurred. So when I saw that trip happen, I also saw that change in cell sites corroborating that information for device movement. Moving forward in time, there was that change in the cell sites. At 20:09 was an outgoing message from item 14 to Emily's number. And then when that significant location visit ended, a new trip was started for item 14. The coordinate location was down in that same area of where the significant location visit was. And then that trip ended and another significant location visit started. And I can see that significant location visit was again in the Meadowbrook area. And that one went from 20:38 on the 16th overnight until 10:36 on the 17th. So that device stayed in that same area overnight.
Okay, so we are now on Sunday, October 17th. And is there a text message from Joseph's phone to Emily's the next morning?
Yes. So at 8:37, that device was using that same cell site that I saw in the overnight hours, consistent that it hadn't moved. And then moving forward to 8:45 in the morning is an outgoing message from item 14 to Emily's number.
And that text was sent while at the Lang's area of the Lang's residence. Is that correct?
The significant location visit was still in the area of Meadowbrook.
Okay, and at some point, did the device start to move away from that area?
Yes.
What time did that occur?
Around 10:36.
Okay. So it looks like the next block of time is 10:36 to 12:04?
Yes.
So 10:36 a.m.
Good morning,
until
Bubby. I
around
miss you.
noon
Please call
on
me.
Sunday,
Nikki just
October
messaged me.
17th.
You want to meet up
Yes.
at Burlington for some
Tell the
snacks
jury
and
what happened
whatnot.
with the device in that time.
So at 10:36 is when a trip was started from item 14. And through my analysis, I could see that that device then traveled south based on the cell sites that were utilized. It left the Franklin County area, traveled south, and went down into the Burlington area. And I could see those cell sites started to kind of congregate in the Burlington area. The trip ends, and then a significant location visit was initiated. When I looked a little bit further, I could see that significant location visit fell within the H-plane of the cell sites that were getting utilized. This visit went from about 11:14 until 11:58 in the morning. And when I examined it further to see what was down in that area, it was Burlington area. And I could see that Muddy Waters was in that area of where that significant location visit occurred. So moving forward, I saw the cell site usage being consistent, staying in the Burlington area, moving forward. And then when a trip ended and another significant location visit started, it was a couple streets over, but still in the Burlington area. And this trip, or excuse me, this visit lasted from 12:04 until 13:19 on the 17th.
This is the tattoo.
And when I went to look further to see what was in the area of where this significant location visit was, I could see that Henry's Diner was in that area.
I thought she got a tattoo for like 3 or 4 hours.
So overall, while the device was down in the Burlington area, those locations that came out of item 14 were consistent with the cell site usage.
Okay. And at some point, does the device leave the Burlington area?
Yes.
And which direction does it go?
It actually went to the South Burlington area.
Okay. And then does it eventually go back up towards St. Albans?
Yes.
Okay. And what time does that trip start?
At 14:03 or 2:03.
Okay. So the next block of time is 2:03 p.m. through 8:12 p.m. on, again, Sunday, October 17th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you could take us through starting at 2:03 p.m.
So at 2:03 is an outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14. I've got cell site usage down in the South Burlington area. And then that trip is started in that same area. Again, those H-planes are consistent with that device information. And then I could see that those cell sites, again, showed that that device traveled back up to the Franklin County area. The cell sites that are getting utilized are changing in their locations. The trip ended, and then a significant location visit started at the time that that trip ended. And this visit went from 14:57 until 15:09 on the 17th. And when I examined further to see what was down in that area of where that visit occurred, I could see that this was the Hannaford's Plaza in St. Albans. And so again, I could see that that visit fell within the H-plane. So everything is showing corroboration between the different sources of location information. A new trip was started, or will be started. And I can see those H-planes there, that cell site information. starts to change. There's a shift, and then it goes over, kind of cell sites over on the eastern side. That trip is ended, and a significant location visit is initiated. And that significant location visit, again, is down on Meadowbrook. And this visit lasted from 15:20 on the 17th until 15:32 the next day on October 18th.
So 24-hour
so
visit?
During that time frame, the device is not moving.
The cell site activity was repeated.
Okay. Is anything happening on the phone during that time?
Yes. So as we move forward in time, at 7:59 to 8 o'clock, there were actually 3 outgoing calls from Joseph's number to Emily's number, as well as an outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14. That cell site usage is the same as what I had seen previously.
The message was, please pick up.
So it's just using the same cell sites over and over again. And then at 8:12 was an outgoing message from item 14 to Emily's number.
Frowny face emojis.
Okay. So that is ending at 8:12. It looks like the next block is midnight. Is there anything of interest between 8:12 p.m. and midnight occurring on the phone?
It was the same cell site usage over and over.
Okay. And so we are now moving to midnight on the 18th, so Sunday night into Monday morning, from midnight to 10:25 a.m. Was there any activity on the phone during that time?
Yes. So at midnight 05 on the 18th is an outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14.
Get your butt home. I got to go back to New Hampshire. Are you coming back? These are messages from
And this is all
Joseph
occurring
to
during
Emily.
that significant location visit. That was on Meadowbrook. The cell site usage is showing the same pattern. At 1:05 is another outgoing message
Random
to
question.
Emily's number from
Where's the
item
extension
14.
cord? I want to plug the fan in. Smells like blood in here. No, I didn't say that part, but.
Then moving forward again, I saw the same cell site usage, and I say that over and over again because these are the patterns that I look for in my analysis. At 4:09 and 4:10 are outgoing voice calls from Joseph's number to Emily's number. They're utilizing those same cell sites. That pattern continued. A device is not moving around enough that it needs to hand off to new cell sites. At 9:06 is an outgoing message from item 14 to 2955.
Good morning, baby.
Also at 9:06, a couple seconds later, was an outgoing voice call from Joseph's number to Emily's number. This is still all occurring with that significant location visit. That was still going on. At 10:25 is an outgoing message to Emily's number from item 14.
You're a beep. I don't deserve this beep.
Okay. Is that the last, in that span of time, is that the last activity?
Yes.
Okay. So it appears that the next block of time doesn't start until 3:32 that same afternoon. So from 10:25 a.m. to 3:32 p.m., was there no important or no activity on the device?
It was that same pattern of cell site usage.
Okay. And so the next block of time, we are now on Monday afternoon, October 18th at 3:32. Does the device move or have further activity?
Yes, it starts to move.
Okay, show us that.
So when that trip was started at about 3:32, it was started in the area of the Lang residence. It was on the Meadowbrook. And then that cell site usage displayed that movement. I could see that it started to travel southeast, and it kept handing off to different cell sites, and then that trip ended. That ending trip, there was also a significant location visit that was triggered. That went from 1618 until 1637. That visit fell within the H-plane of the cell site that was being utilized at that time. When I examined it further, I could see that there was the Maple Fields, that's in Waterbury, that's Waterbury Stowe Road, that was in the area of where that significant location visit occurred.
Another gas station or convenience store?
When that significant location visit ended, after a couple of minutes, then a new trip was started, and that device began moving again. And I could see that that device started handing off to multiple cell sites again. I could see that movement as it traveled southeast, and it went down through the White River Junction, Lebanon area, and continued down into New Hampshire. When that trip ended, there was a significant location visit for item 14. It fell within the H-plane of the cell site that was getting utilized at that time. This particular visit went from 1747 until 1758. When I examined the area further to see what was down in the area where this visit occurred, I could see that there was a gas station. Down in this area. So that movement pattern was pretty clear to me. Definitely a change from that static pattern that I had seen earlier. And all of my data was being corroborated. The device then started to move again. And as I watched those cell sites start to move and hand off, there was another device location information that's going to pop up that falls within those H-planes. And that is sourced to Find My on the iPhone. It is not a stationary event like a parking event or a significant location visit. It's just a latitude and longitude that is sourced to the Find My. So the device ended up traveling over towards that Northfield area, getting into the general area around 625. And then it continued to utilize multiple cell sites. And then at about 6:35 is when I started to see the cell site pattern that I had seen back on the 15th, when that device was in the area of the Bass residence. And that was the pattern that stuck out to me. That lasted up until about 8:15 is when I saw a change in that pattern occur. And then there was a new item 14 location information that occurred. This one was a parking event, a parked car, and this again was at 2015. And when I examined the area further to see what was in the area, there's no location accuracy for this one. It's just a latitude and a longitude. I looked down further and I could see that there was a gas station in this area.
Okay, so this is we're back around 8:15 p.m. In the area of the Bass residence, is that correct?
It had moved away, the pattern had changed, and that parking car location was in the area of the gas station at 8:15.
Okay, so it looks like you have a next timeline of 8:15 through 11:19 p.m. Was there significant activity during that time?
Yes.
Okay. And did the device stay in New Hampshire or did it leave?
It began to travel and move.
Okay, so you can show us that.
Again, starting around 8:15 is when I saw that change in the pattern to show that device movement. I saw the cell site usage, again, was showing that it just was handing off to multiple cell sites as that device was moving around, traveled up north. Now it's in the Burlington area, and it continued north back up towards the Franklin County area. We're at about 11 o'clock at night. But this time I saw a change from that pattern that I had seen earlier. Now it was utilizing cell sites further east. This was a different pattern than what I had seen back when it was in the Meadowbrook area. This was at 2319 was an item 14. This is again a parked car location. And this fell within proximity of the Lemons residence. That's the icon D there, showing that was consistent with that change in cell site information that I had seen.
Okay, so the device showed an arrival at the Lemons residence at approximately 11:19 p.m. on Monday, the 18th.
There was a parked car location at 2319.
Okay, at the Lemons residence, or near the Lemons residence. Okay. Is there, looks like quite a big jump. Is there mappable data from 11:19 through 3:02 a.m.?
No.
Okay. And why might that be, or why is that?
The device was roaming on different wireless networks or cellular network carriers. And that's not anything that I could map from the information that I had.
Meaning there wasn't any cell service? Is that?
There was not AT&T. The device was not able to communicate with the AT&T network. It had to go to a different network in order to have service.
Okay. And so when does the mapped data resume?
At 3:02 on the 19th.
Okay. And can you show us? It looks like 3:02 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. is the final timeline. Can you show us what happens during that time?
So when the AT&T data resumed, the cell site usage resumed, it was that same cell site that it had left off at previously, over on the eastern side, and the Lemons residence fell within the H-plane. And my analysis saw that there was that shift in the cell site usage over to the west, went back over into the St. Albans area, and then at about 4:06 is when a cache location started. And this is that raw location data that I previously talked about, that the phone knows where it is. And that cache location, when I examined further to see what was in the area of where that cache location indicated that the device was, and I saw that that was the St. Albans barracks for the Vermont State Police.
Okay. And what happens with the device after that?
It stayed in that same area. The cache locations were consistent with the St. Albans barracks, and the cell site usage overlaid where those cache locations were.
Okay. And are you aware of the circumstances that led the device to end up at the St. Albans Police Barracks?
It's my understanding that it was in a Jeep that was transported from the Lemons residence to the barracks.
Okay. Is that the final timeline that you have?
Yes.
And so there was no other mappable data after that?
For this, there was mappable data. It just was that same pattern in the barracks.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions that I have.
I have no questions.
No questions on cross.
Thank you.
The judge came down so we could see the display. That's why he wasn't up on the bench. We're an hour away from this judge saying we're going to call it quits for the day. Don't think we can get the ME done in that time. Everyone's going to approach. I do think as far as cell bread analysis goes, as far as cell phone positional data, that was one of the more easily followable presentations. You might be able to hear in the background, just like the courthouse. Fun fact, I've decided that the noises we're hearing in court is the actual courthouse being demolished all around this one room, which is the last room in use. I think they're smashing all the floors, walls, everything. And fun fact, yes, we're doing the same thing in the bathroom on the other side of this wall. They're smashing tiles out as we speak. There's just so much noise in the courtroom. The noise level, the noise gate that's set is right at the ambient noise threshold, and it's a noisy courtroom. So it's got this constant hum, noise, air handlers, equipment, everything else going on, and it just cuts in and out, so it gets silent and then it comes back. It sounds like a bang, but really it's constantly that much noise. Demo's a loud business, yes. We're going to plug this again. Please do make submissions using this form. If there was a favorite part you had watching court with us in this last year, we'd like you to use this form to make that submission and let us know what it was. Answer little questions and preferably put the URLs and maybe even a timestamp in there, so I can go and pull that down and we can play it on our best of awards around the Christmas time when courts got awfully quiet.
All right, we're just trying to give you a weather report of what to expect. We think we're gonna, we have nothing further we can do today. So we'll release you today, ask you to come back. We'll start again at 9 tomorrow, so be back at 8:45. We expect we should be able to get through all the evidence tomorrow. And probably do summations and charges sometime on Thursday. We will have some things to take care of after all the evidence is closed, so we have to figure out how long that will take. But we should be at least summing up and closing on Thursday, we're hoping. And with that, I'll ask you to have a really nice day, and overnight, not talk about the case, not try to learn anything about the case, and we'll see you tomorrow for a 9 o'clock start. Arrive, please, at 8:45.
All right.
Address further today.
No, Judge, thank you.
Be here, be available at 8:30 if there's anything that comes up.
All right, and with that, we are done for the day. The judge has an early out. He has prior commitments. They're going to take him to other court business outside of this case. So that wraps us up today. We flew through the evidence today with very little, if any. I don't think we had any cross-examination. A lot of factual stuff, DNA analysis, the fiber analysis, about the pillow. We got the cell phone analysis about locations. This is pretty tough evidence. Specifically, I think the most troublesome for the defense would be the cell phone, the text messages where he sent and he was calling Emily and pretending that she was dead, or pretending she was not dead, and the detailed analysis of the fibers from the pillow that was used during the murder. That's going to be a tough one to work into. We were fighting; it was self-defense. So now he's going to have to come up with a theory that works this evidence into it, because if he's saying it's self-defense, and he will be testifying, he'll take the stand and say it was, this was self-defense. he's going to have to come up with some way up that's believable to the jury, or at least, that a reasonable mind might be able to accept. Hey, Mrs. R.A.
Hi. Your son is using the hammer to destroy the wall.
My youngest son?
No, your middle one. But we don't know how much wall needs to come off.
Okay. My kids need demolition guidance. Let me say this. We've got a video we need to watch first from Josh. Can you just have him not hit anything until I go in there? Is that okay? Just 1 second here. Can I show you this without you saying anything? Let's stream the demo. You guys, the demo, you have no idea. First of all, the bathroom we're demolishing it because it's too small.
No.
Yes.
No,
It's most shoeboxes are larger. Okay? Most shoeboxes are larger. We're demolishing it. We're going to push it into this closet. Oh, there goes mine.
Okay, this is false. What is happening here is false.
I'm pretty sure this was my show.
You keep telling yourself that. No. Okay, so here's the deal with the bathroom. It's not that it's too small, although it is too small. We're demolishing it because the floor is missing. And I feel like that's one of the things that I just need. I'm a little spoiled.
And let me say this. We knew when we bought the house that it had a bad joist. They had a previous damage and we didn't fix it.
Yeah, that's on us.
And we're like, we need to fix this. And so we're now tearing it out to fix this damage that happened, I don't know, probably 50 years ago in this house when the house was only, 50 years old.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think it's that old. I think the problem was there just a little bit before we moved in. But we've been here for several years, and we just kept using the shower.
Yeah. And it's all good, but we need to fix it. So we're going to tear that out. We're going to replace the joist that goes under the house. By we, I mean somebody other than me, because I have no clue how to do that.
Yeah, so right now our child, he has a hammer, and he's just hitting the wall. He's just like... So on Saturday, Scott removed the tile on one. We have a tiled-in shower, and it's big and it's nice. If the floor worked, it would be awesome. But he removed one wall of the tile, and there's like cement that it was attached to because it's so old. I don't even know what they were thinking when they did it, but they found a way and they made it work. So there's this really, really thick cement that's just sitting on the wall there that the tiles were attached to. And so Scott took off the tiles. Now our son is going in and taking all of the cement out, but he's taking it out to, like, I'm afraid the hammer's going to go through the other side of the wall.
It might, and I'm okay with that because we have to rebuild the walls anyway.
Makes one of us.
Okay, hang on just 1 second. I need to share this to...
It is. It's lath and plaster. And
it's lath and cement.
Yeah, so it's very hard to put tile on lath and plaster, so they just slapped up this really thick layer of cement onto the lath and plaster. Oh, I'm pausing for Scott, but he muted himself.
Yeah, you're good. Keep going.
Can you guys hear that hammering?
I can't. I can't hear anything but that hammering.
My goodness.
Oh, our entire... imagine the bathroom over there. If you were to stick your arm at about chest level out and touch the wall, they tiled the entire thing from that all the way down. Every wall down across the floor, and then the shower goes up higher. So the shower... I've already ripped the shower door out. It was a sliding shower door. I tore that thing out. It's in the hall behind me. And we've smashed the small shower end wall opposite. I need to turn the water off. Because I was in there. I broke all the tiles and they fell down on the shower floor. And then I got the shovel out, like a square nose shovel. Hang on. Can you be quiet there for a minute, sir? I don't need that audio.
We're talking about our remodel.
Hang on, there we go. Okay, I broke the tile out, and I was going to shovel it up and put it into a bin so we can dump it and get rid of the broken tiles. And as I go to shovel, I bring back the shovel handle because it's a full size shovel, and I hit the lever on the shower on, and it's just.
Are you serious?
I've already taken the shower head off, so it's like Unrestrained, no little coming through a little hole. Here's a little dribble of water. No, it's just like full pressure, 3/4 inch shower, boom. It just soaks me, and then it sprayed like all the dust and everything had mud in there.
That's awesome.
It was my own make, but I quickly shut it off. It's a very high-mounted bidet. Using it presents a visual that I just don't want to see. But no, we have another shower upstairs because we fixed the upstairs.
The upstairs bathroom is gorgeous.
We remodeled the entire thing. We tore all the way down to the studs, tore the floor out, literally replaced the sewer lines in the house. Had to do all that. So we've replaced. We're going to tear out. Well, when I tear out the pipes that go to the shower in here, that will be the last ground this house has, electrically speaking.
Possibly also literally speaking.
So we have to figure out something about that. We probably have to drive like a copper thing in the ground or something. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I was trying to find a video here. If you can wait for just a second. 5 days ago. You're good. Keep going.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm looking at Judge. That's not the one. Okay, you keep talking, Miss Sorry.
Okay, so the whole thing is my sweet son, he's looking at me right now. He was supposed to be doing college work, and he wasn't. He was sleeping, and I said,
not asleep.
if you're
just really close.
I said, if you're going to sleep instead of doing schoolwork, then you need to go beat in the bathroom. And he did not like that. And so he said, okay, if I'm going to hit something, I'm going to hit it. He got a big hammer, and he's now putting a hole in our wall. And that's how that's going. No college work is getting done, and a hole is happening.
Hey, but it's fun.
But it's super fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what I said, Red Pen. That's not what I meant. I meant he had to go pull the tiles off the wall, and he doesn't really know how to do that. So he's like, "Well, give me the hammer. I'll hit it."
I have a big hammer, okay? And
Yep.
It looks like a nail.
Got a little 5-pound sledge that's working. Okay.
We have a sledgehammer?
55. It's in there. A little mini handheld yell handle.
I'm using their own hammer.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're using the framing hammer. That's for pulling nails.
Oh, our wall is.
Okay, it's going to get really loud. Hold on just 1 second. Wear safety glasses.
Yeah, he's not wearing safety anything. He's just like mad. Oh, thank you.
It's like we have a mini rage room. We should actually charge for this. We could put an ad on Facebook and be like, hey, you too could. Okay, we've got court to watch really quick, and then I'll be in there.
Sounds better than this.
Can I have my mic back? All right, there we go. We're going to turn on my Christmas lights. Turn that off. And I think we're right about here. Let's see if this works. I think this is the right time when he appears. So this is Judge DeSanto, I think. Oh, this says Judge Polly. No, it says Polly USB. Is this the right one, Josh? First interactions at 55-minute, 5-second mark, which is where we're at. It's from 6 days ago. And 55, 5 seconds. I think this is it. Judge Oakley has not gone live yet. I'm not sure if he's going to live stream. have a spam call. Hello? Hello? They never answer. They're on to me. Josh, I'm looking for your answer. Is this the right one? Because nothing's happening yet. We see a couple people on the front row there waiting for court. Some guests coming in. This one says 5 days ago. Josh, this says 6 days ago now. Okay, let me go back. Got a 4 days ago, 5 days ago. That's this one. It says 5 days ago. Let's try this one.
So the court can monitor.
I think it's this one. I think it's this one right here. Is this it?
All right, we'll see you back on the 19th at 8:45.
Thank you, Judge. Always a pleasure, Dave.
All right, you as well. Okay.
Your Honor, may I approach briefly?
You may, let's go off the record.
I just need Mr. Garcia's file, Your Honor, for the DP. Here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, I also have Mr. Robinson, Your Honor, so glad.
Yes. All right. We are on the record in the matter of the State of Michigan versus Elijah Robinson, 241691.
And once again, Your Honor, good morning to you and your staff. And it pleases most honorable court, Edward Martell, 85051. On behalf of Elijah Robinson, sir, please state your full name for the record. Elijah, does that read?
All right, thank you. And today's date scheduled for the probable cause conference. Your client was arraigned out of county. And counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, today's daytime probable cause conference is stated, have discussed with my client that he has a right to an examination within 21 days. Similarly to the last case, Judge just recently retained, seeking some additional time to get up to speed and work towards a resolution. In light of saying my client is waiving his 21 days at this time. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
In light of our request, Judge, please and thank you. And I would ask to come back on the same day if at all possible.
Who is the defense attorney?
No, we're in the habit of making it more difficult for you. Yes, we will adjourn this to December 19th at 8:45 a.m. And are you currently on probation or parole, sir?
No, ma'am.
How'd you get here today?
What?
From Detroit?
It's like 2 miles away.
He walked
Sir?
2 miles?
Fort and Dollar Drive is like 2 miles away.
Well, it's more than that, but you're telling this court that you walked from there this morning
Yes.
and that your vehicle is not outside in the parking lot.
I'm not allowed to drive.
I know that.
Yes.
That's why you have a charge here, because it's alleged you were driving while you're not allowed to drive.
Right.
You wouldn't be the first one that shows up to court driving when they're not supposed to, so.
My vehicle is not outside.
Is anybody's vehicle that you borrowed outside?
No vehicle is outside.
You don't have any keys in your pockets?
I do have keys, but they're to the house.
Okay, let me see.
They're in my coat.
Okay. Let me grab the card.
And Judge, I certainly can't speak to that, but I can speak to the fact that I will make sure that he Ubers or gets necessary transportation when we exit this building, of course.
There's a car key on there.
Yes, but I didn't drive.
Judge is checking out the keys.
So why do you have a car key on here, sir, if you don't drive?
It's been on there for a long time. My car was a Challenger, and that's still a Chevy. That's my wife's car, spare car key.
Right. If you can't drive, why is that a key ring?
It's been on there for a long time. I promise
I know, so my point is, take it off. You can't drive, take it off.
You understand that, sir?
I understand.
If something tells me that you drove here.
This is why I dress warm.
Thank you, Judge. So acknowledged.
I'm not sure if the judge is buying it. Walk 2 miles to court today with car keys in my
My
pocket.
bond and conditions are continued. Sir, if you're driving out of this parking lot, you will be arrested again.
Mr. Robinson, you understand and appreciate that, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge.
The lawyer said I can guarantee he'll be taking an Uber.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Have a great day. All right, I'll see you back in 2 weeks. Thank you. We're on the record in the matter of
Wait.
LaShawn Wells, 241642.
We're going to see him before 2 weeks. We're going to see him before 2 weeks, I think. We're going to see him about 2 hours and 31 minutes. So hold tight. 2:31 and 25 seconds. There we go. Got about 25 seconds here to wrap this one up.
As well.
Okay. I'm not inclined to make any modifications regarding that until I'm hearing from the victim.
I understand, Your Honor. I'll see if that can be done. Thank you. All right, Mr. Harper, thank you. We'll revisit it.
Thank you, Your Honor. All the best to you and the staff.
I thank you for you as well. All right, and we are going to recall the matter of the State of Michigan versus Elijah Robinson, 241691.
Judge, if I may?
Yes, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Your Honor. Once again, good morning to your staff. Edward Martell.
I'm sorry, are you Mr. Robinson?
No, I was just...
No, sit down. I'm sorry, counsel. Your name, please, your appearance for the record again, please.
Thank you, Judge. Edward Martell, P85051 on behalf of Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson, please state your name for the record.
Elijah Robinson.
Okay. Sir, you are here. This court called you back because you were on the record and you insisted you did not drive to court. You insisted you walked the 2+ miles from your home. Is it accurate so far?
Yes.
Okay. Would that be accurate, counsel?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Please remember your hands from your pockets. I was very clear, at least I thought I was very clear, that you were not to drive a motor vehicle. You were not to drive out of the parking lot, which I suspected, correctly it appears, that your vehicle was in the parking lot. You insisted that your vehicle was not in the parking lot. It was your wife's extra set of keys. Am I accurate so far?
Yes.
Yes, Judge.
So imagine my non-surprise when I was told that you did in fact have a vehicle in the parking lot, and you did in fact enter into the driver's side of the vehicle, and you did in fact drive out of the parking lot. I'm pretty positive I said, don't drive out of the parking lot because you will be arrested. Did I not tell you that?
Yes, but I never drove.
Sir, you are on very, very, very shaky ground right now. Because my court officer, the one that was working the door, saw you get into the driver's side of the vehicle and drive off. So you have your friend that was in the car that was in the passenger side, correct? He's here.
No.
No? Who's the gentleman that's here that was trying to walk up here with you?
He's the driver.
The one that just drove you here?
That dropped me off and...
Okay, good. We're going to find out. Sir, come up this way, please. Gordy, can you please have Mark come in here, please? Sir, what is your name for the record?
Nicholas Jenner.
Please spell your first and last names.
NICOLASGENDRO.
Good. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear from the testimony about to give this man the truth, the whole truth? Don't interrupt me. Do you solemnly swear from the testimony about to give this man the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Counsel, I understand that this is not something that you had on your calendar today, but since your client clearly violated bond and clearly lied to this court's considering revoking your client's bond or holding it in contempt. So I'm holding this impromptu hearing.
Understood, Judge.
That's the tether.
Judge.
That is the tether.
Okay, is somebody talking to you on the tether? You have to respond to them.
I can't make it off. It's,
Just let them know that you're in court. Otherwise, it's going to continue to interrupt the record.
okay. I'm in court. I don't think it's like a person talking. It's like recorded.
Okay.
He's on a tether.
So, I'm sorry, sir, can you spell your last name again, please?
GENDRON.
O-N?
Yeah, O-N.
Okay. All right, and so were you here earlier today?
Yes, I was here this morning. I actually brought my cousin Thomas Conley in because he needed a ride because he lives in Harrison, Michigan, 2.5 hours away. I was sitting in the lobby, and when they came into court this morning, I had walked out to the vehicle. When I got to the vehicle, he come out with my cousin and the attorney, and he asked if he needed a ride because he was going to have to walk. I then drove him. I had my aunt's car keys. You guys can come out and look at the vehicle.
Hold on, pause. Hold on. What kind of vehicle do you drive, sir?
A Dodge Caravan. It's my aunt's car.
What color is it?
Black.
Okay. Mark, can you please state your name for the record, please?
Mark Kuziak.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear from the testimony about to give this matter the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. And so you were working the door a short while ago, correct?
Correct.
And so I requested after Mr. Robinson's case was done, if you could watch to see if he in fact drove away or not.
Correct.
So did you see Mr. Robinson, this individual here, leave the courthouse?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see Mr. Robinson get into a vehicle?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle did Mr. Robinson get into?
It was a dark colored minivan.
Okay. Where did you see Mr. Robinson enter the vehicle?
On the driver's side. The driver's side was facing west. It was parked in the south lot. It was about 4 or 5 cars back in the first row.
Okay. How many people did you see enter the vehicle?
2.
How many people, who did Mr. Robinson walk out with?
A white male, approximately 5'8", with a dress shirt and bald head.
Okay. Did you see this individual that's here in the sweatshirt at all in the courthouse?
Not when I was here earlier.
Okay. And Mr. Gendron, you're testifying that you were here in the courthouse?
Yes, I walked in, and then when they walked in, I walked out. Also, there's a car seat on the right back seat that he actually had to move to get into the driver's side. You can go out to the vehicle and look at it right now. There's a car seat in the back seat. I drove him to actually High Street in Southfield where I dropped him off at.
And so how did the two of you end up coming back together?
So, like I said, I drove my cousin. They actually were in jail together. He had gave him his attorney's number, so they had the attorney and they walked out together. And he asked if he could get a ride. I gave him a ride. I don't even know who this is.
Right, so how is it that you brought him back? If you don't know who he is, how did you bring him back?
He had my cousin's phone number. And he asked if I'd come back with him so he didn't get in trouble. And I figured it wasn't fair to him that I drove him home and he was getting in trouble, you know? I gave him a ride. I honestly don't even know who he is. Never met him a day in my life. Today was the first day I met him.
And so, Officer Kuziak, you saw Mr. Robinson get in the driver's side. Do you know if it was in the front or the back?
I couldn't be 100% sure it looked like the front. It was closest to the I-beam of the vehicle, so closer to the front, by the window glass.
So the officer...
I was actually parked in like the 3rd or 4th spot, facing this way, and he got in behind me. He even had to flip the seat up to get in because it was folded over for the kids in the back seat, my aunt's children.
Oh.
I think there's there's actually a couple of individuals also that are out in the waiting room that were still here this morning that seen me walk in. I talked to the one guy because you guys' doors were locked until 8:30 to be let in. He was standing in the little waiting room before he actually come into the courthouse.
It's just the driver. Now he's testifying in some random person's case.
Mr. Gendron,
yes,
that you drove both Mr. Robinson and Mr. Connolly out of the parking lot.
Yes, 110%.
110%.
No questions asked about it. It's my aunt's vehicle. Like I said, I don't even know this name at all, literally.
Well, is it possible the officer didn't see what he
Mr.
thought he
Martel, do you
saw?
have any questions for Mr. Gendron or Officer Kuziak?
I do not, Judge. Just elocution when appropriate. I don't want to, be a witness to the case, but I had limited observations that I can attest to when the court is ready.
He was going to guarantee his client took an Uber, and he's not sure what happened.
Officer Kuziak, when the vehicle drove out, did the vehicle at any point come toward the courthouse itself or go straight towards the street?
It went westbound, so it backed out, it headed west, made the loop to get out to Biddle, and continued north.
Okay. All right, thank you. And so, Mr. Martel?
Just very limited, Judge. I did witness the young man when I came in this morning, sitting with Mr. Connolly, who also I represent. I do know that I can attest that Mr. Connolly and Mr. Robinson met while incarcerated. While at the podium earlier, and as well as on the way out, I advised Mr. Robinson, you cannot drive. Mr. Robinson, when I came all the way out, was speaking with Mr. Connolly, and then Mr. Connolly I asked him, are you taking an Uber? He said, I'm riding with Connolly. I said, okay, that's a good idea. Ultimately, Connolly got into that. When I got into my car, Connolly got into the passenger side of the vehicle, and then I seen the rear driver's side of the minivan open up. I then exited the parking lot in my vehicle. So I'm of good faith that this young man did ride out of here as a passenger. However, I cannot attest, after I left the parking lot. But when I left, the passenger side rear view of the sliding door was open. So, Judge, I'm certainly understand and appreciate this court has terms and conditions. I went over these terms and conditions with my client. I'm confident if Your Honor does allow him the opportunity, he will not violate these conditions of bond. Certainly not calling the fine officer disingenuous in his observations. But I don't think that Mr. Robinson was seen driving, nor do I believe in full candor that he did drive out of the parking lot here today after being, advised by Your Honor as well as myself, Judge. So I would ask Your Honor to set aside any violation of bond at this time and allow him an opportunity to continue following terms and conditions, Judge. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Robinson, let this be evidence that this court that we are watching. It appeared as though you entered the driver's side. Mr. Gendron is here to testify under penalty of perjury and contempt of court on his own, if he is in fact lying to this court, that he drove his cousin, and the description that Officer Kuziak gave as far as who entered the passenger side would have been Mr. Connolly. Based upon Mr. Connolly's presentation here in court earlier with Mr. Martel, and that you entered on the driver's side. And based upon the direction of the vehicle, and that Officer Kuziak wasn't able to see that Mr. Gendron was driving the vehicle, the court does find that Officer Kuziak was not disingenuous in what he stated. because that is what he saw, and he was unaware that there was another individual in the vehicle. That is why I had you come back, because it appeared as though you drove out of this parking lot in direct violation of this court's order.
So a simple apology, Judge, is all that's needed right here. Sorry. How do you wrap this one up and put a bow on it?
Court, that we would be watching, sir, we were watching. That's why I had you come back to address this.
Now quickly go check and see if his car is in the parking lot.
I'm not finding there's a bond violation. I'm reiterating the bond conditions. No driving. If you didn't think that we were going to watch, we watch. And fortunately for you, you ended up getting a ride from Mr. Gendron. And he was kind enough to bring you back. And apparently kind enough to drop you back off.
Mr. Gendron's like, yeah, but you're on your own from here. You got to take an Uber. I'm done with this.
We'll see you back in 2 weeks. Not driving.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Have a great day, Judge.
You as well.
So this was the lawyer that wanted to recuse Judge
We are
Simpson
on the
from the
record
case.
in the matter of the state of Michigan versus Bragg Lewis, 241692.
All right, that was fun. Sometimes police get it wrong. It's a good thing they had somebody there who could vouch a little bit for him. Just. Let's see. Quick question. Let me put a question out to you. If we did a deep dive on a case right now, either one that just happened or the one that's in the works right now, what case would you be interested in? Just before we break, it's a half day right now. It's a half day, so I have to go in and steer the demolition. What do you mean by deep dive? Just analysis, questions. We've got a couple coming up this next year that are big. We've got Corey Richens, Shark. You're right. Corey Richens is a big one. Brian Koberger is a big one. Karen Reed is going to happen again. It got put off. It got delayed. It's going to be continued out till April or so, I think, next year. Those are some big ones that are happening. It's probably a little early to look at the CEO shooter trial because we don't know. First of all, we don't know how he's going to plead. We don't know. It's going to be New York, I think. The weapons violation one might be in PA, but the shooting one's going to be in New York, so no cameras there. That's going to be a hard one. Bob says, I'd like to know more about YSL. It was too short. Bob says, YSL was just too short to really get all the details. Stephen Avery, Donna Adelson. Let's see. Naresh Bhatt, right? Naresh Bhatt. That's the missing Virginia nurse. Yeah, this is a no body case. That's a no body case, right? That one's scheduled to start any minute now, wasn't it? Body still has not been found. He's pleading he's innocent, that she might still be alive, just missing. I don't know a lot about this case, but they'll have to. One of the facts that's usually the easiest to prove in a murder trial is that the victim is in fact deceased. But this takes us back to like the Zachariah Anderson case. What evidence do you have that proves that the victim is deceased? That's one of the elements of murder. They have to be dead. So that would be interesting. Blood found in the home. The amount of blood, usually, I think that's what they used in Zachariah Anderson. The amount of blood went to speaking to his death. Let's see. Criminology student is accused of unaliving a random person at the beach. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, crazy. Okay, just wanted to get you guys to weigh in a little bit. All right, I can hear smashing and shoveling and stuff happening in the other room. I think what we're going to do is call it a half day this afternoon. I've got to drive to Raleigh to the Chinese Lantern Festival, or I think it's out Raleigh direction, which is the Chinese Lanternless Festival, is I think what we call it. The 4 gold diggers murders. Uncle covered Ferris' statement last night. Oh, that was funny. I saw bits of that. That's in Rob's courthouse. Ooh. Might see him at work. Naresh Bhatt. Don't believe this will be televised. What? Where's that at? Where's it at again? In Virginia? Virginia's a tough one for us to get into because they're extremely protective of the media. And you have to be basically a television station to get access. The people that grant access to court are gatekeepers of the media themselves. You have to convince them you're part of the media for them to let you in. And why would they do that? Why would they let someone else in to compete with them? It's sort of a rigged setup up there in Virginia. But I'm coming to Cary. Apparently I'm going to the Lantern Festival tonight if the weather holds. Mostly local media, yeah. So it might be a little tricky to get that one. Trail's not year. Trail is not this year. Enjoy the lack of lanterns, apparently. I hope I do. I hope it's really good. Court TV's all over it. Possibly, then. We might get access. All right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe. So we go live again tomorrow morning. I've got a little demolition. I've got some stuff to work out here. Some arrangements. Maybe something fun coming up. And then tomorrow. The Softset never showed. Softset did not show. Where's Judge Oakley when you need him? Let me do one more last peek here. Judge Oakley. Yeah, he did not go live again today. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. No podcast on Thursday, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.